All right, so let's do a pair share. So I think a lot of you do know each other, but there's probably folks who don't know each other who are in the room. So I want you to find someone that you do not know, or if you do know everyone, that you don't know well. And we just want you to say who you are, share your name. We want you to say why you came today. What's motivating you to be here at the Art of Dialogue? You could be anywhere on a beautiful Tuesday morning in Nairobi. And then what do you want to get out of this conversation today? What's the takeaway that you want for yourself? And then the fourth and final thing is we want you to find one thing that you have in common with that person. And then we're going to hear back, not from everyone, but from a few folks, and then we'll move on. But does anyone have any questions about the assignment and what's next? All right. Does anyone look around, find someone, make eye contact, connect with somebody who you don't know? Come on, point them out like, I got you. I got you. All right. Cool. All right. So let's start the discussion. Let's get your name, what brings you here today, what do you want to get out of today, and find one thing in common with that person. So let's take about 10 minutes for that conversation. Yeah, I'm going to find somebody too. Thank you. Good. You know which one's which. Mine is just black, right? Yeah, yours is just black. This has 3 minutes. What's this? Black. Thank you, brother. I got one with you. I don't know. Those might all settle down, so it might all be the same. Like the phone might be going. Talking to you then, right?
You want me to get
Oh, sure. I thought that was my fault. Look at that. All right.
take my place?
So I'll start again. You know how you can go into it. All right. We can talk more. Okay, everyone. Did everyone have a chance to share? All right. How about, let's hear from a few people. Who did you meet? What did you have in common? What do you want to gain from today? What did you hear?
So I think I start. Hi everyone. So
Introduce yourself too, also.
Okay. My name is Isaac. I've met a really interesting person. I think she's the most interesting person I've met in a while. So her name is Alice Wangari.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to meet you all.
Yes. So we talked about a lot. A desired takeaway is how to expand some of the civil engagements that we have in this country, how to collaborate with some of the institutions and entities that talk about civic matters. We both believe aliens exist.
How about anyone else? Yours?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi. Okay, so my name is Michael Ogumbe, as on the tag, and I'm here with the beautiful Veronica Ndanu, who has answered all the questions that were asked. First of all, starting with the name and the greeting. You know, the Skuzombo Tole was the greeting. Then what she has brought her here is the Art of Dialogue. She saw it on the WhatsApp group and she was captivated. And also she's interestingly here to network and to learn more and to know the broadness of this Art of Dialogue, because it can take any channel. Then how motivated you tell me that? I think the story about why she's here took over the rest of the other things. But one thing we had in common is that we love art and we want to represent it through dialogues.
My man Felix up next.
Hi everyone. So I'm Felix. My neighbor here, Daisy, she's a website developer, but she's told me at the end of the program she wants to come out as an activist. Besides that, what we have in common is this is our mutual friend for both of us, so that's what we have in common.
Hello, everyone. My name's Arthur Jenkins. I met Bill Clinton over here. What we have in common is probably we both can play rugby.
Oh,
He's a very talkative person. Yeah. Thank you.
all right. That's awesome.
Hello everyone. So my name is Joe Kiongo. I'm part of the OFP A member media team. I met Stephanie and Jackson. We kind of didn't talk much because she kind of arrived there right now, but we have the same editing. We love editing. Also Nelly. We do editing with her, so I kind of think that's something that we have in similar. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
I'm George Jackson, and I met a couple members of the media team here, and I also met Sean. And I guess one thing I'd say we have in common is they do film editing and fantastic media work. And I know people who do fantastic media work. I do the communications for public defenders. I actually have a team that does a lot of video and stuff for me as well.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? So I had the privilege of meeting Muli Boniface, who actually is a coordinator here for American Corner. You know, we talked about a lot of things, but it's very clear that he has a passion for youth leadership, which we have in common for sure. He even has an organization, Thrivingly. So that's the big thing. What we have in common is that we are both husbands. I guess that's an easy one. So, and fathers, although I have 2 daughters and he has 3 sons. So, yeah, thanks everyone. So, Daisy is messing with my slides right now. And I want to talk to you. Give me 1 second. I think she's going to add a Google Meet so that more people can join us remotely. Perfect. And let's get this back in. All right, present. Go back to that. Let's refresh it. Hold on. Here we go. Now the slideshow. Do it. But you need to be able to share, right? Is it not sharing?
I think you have to change the.
There you go. It's all good. Yep. All right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about advocacy and share some of my experiences just to lay a foundation for how bringing community into an issue in ways that they are the leaders of it can make a difference in community. So first, I was trying to explain a little bit about my organization to Muli. So Just Strategies is a consulting firm that's oftentimes it gets left out of the conversations, and how a lot of good work that happens in the U.S. functions is that, you'll have government or you'll have a foundation that has resources that will oftentimes support another entity, like another nonprofit organization, and then that organization will then work with community and try to provide benefit to community. What happens oftentimes, though, is that community is left out of the decision making. They don't dictate the change that they want for themselves. It's oftentimes dictated by these other entities. So what we're trying to do is to flip the script and elevate the voice of community so that they can dictate the change that they want for themselves and for the world. So we work with a lot of nonprofits and foundations and really just trying to help them understand these issues and how they do their work and how they can go about it in a better way. So that's some of the team here, pretty great folks who do good work. So I'm coming from Philadelphia, and it is the 5th or sometimes 6th largest city in the U.S., and it is often described as being the largest, poorest big city. And a lot goes with that. So life expectancy, because I'm a public health advocate, and life expectancy is one of the things that I want to improve for all people, and especially for those who have the greatest disparities in that. So I'm going to show you, for example, if you look on the map, I live like right around here in Philadelphia on this map. And if I go to, this is an app that was created for the US, and you're able to put in your address and see what is the life expectancy for that community. So I'm going to put in an area that is kind of lower North Philadelphia. Give me 1 second. So when I put in the 4,000 block, down at the very bottom of the map, we see that the expected lifespan for people who live in that neighborhood is 68.4 years of life. And I know that that life expectancy is high for a lot of other, in terms of like the world population. And I'm not even sure what it is here in Kenya, but I just know that in the US, that's relatively low for life expectancy. And when I just go up the block, right, I'm traveling north now, and I put in the 4,000 block of Germantown Avenue, it goes up. So if you live in one neighborhood, you're expected to live to be about 68. If you live in the next neighborhood, further up, it's about 69 years of age. When you go further up the block, the 5,000 block, we'll see that it jumps a whole 5 years just based on where you live, right? We keep going up the block. Now you're at 74 and a half years. We go up and we see that the life expectancy is now hitting 76. And that's the area that I, live around mostly, right? We go further up the block, 7,000 Germantown, it jumps up to 81. We go further up the block, and we see that the life expectancy jumps to 84. You go further up the block, and you see that the life expectancy continues to jump further up, right? So the further you go, the longer you can expect to live. And we want to say that, you know, we oftentimes think about health as like an individual choice. It's because you smoke or that you drink or that you eat. What is going on? Hold on. That you are eating unhealthily, slideshow. That you're making poor decisions. And we also know that, well, sometimes we have family history of high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, etc. And all that can be true. But we also recognize that a 20-year difference in your life expectancy is not because of those factors. There are other things at play. And we like to note that, like, your zip code is probably a better indicator of your health and your life outcomes than your genetic code. So in Philadelphia, if you ever get the chance to come, we have amazing food. We have incredible museums and universities, and there are park systems. We have, you don't watch American football, but we have the champions in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles are now the Super Bowl champions. So lots of good things happening in the city. But also there are lots of disparities, differences in outcomes, like years lived, but also like income, and also safety and quality of housing and environmental pollutants and everything that happens within neighborhoods. And we also know that health is impacted greatly by that. So we are a city where there's a great deal of poverty. A third of the folks in the city live in poverty. That a quarter are food insecure, so they don't have enough to eat routinely. But then there's also a notion around being obese and overweight, which is a huge problem as well. And 2 out of 10 adults in the city have diabetes. And if you're an African American, you are 80% more likely to have hypertension and diabetes than if you're white in that city. And we know that this, again, isn't something that is naturally occurring. It is because of the conditions of communities that a lot of this is happening. And we go back to how this began, and we have to take a historical perspective on this. So we look at this practice, the practice of redlining, which I'm going to tell you was whenever someone wanted to buy a home or start a business or get a loan to start that business, to buy a home, to get insurance to cover any liabilities with those businesses, there was an evaluation that was done. And the government set out a set of criteria to determine which neighborhoods were deemed worthy of investment and which neighborhoods weren't. So we have this practice called redlining, which happened all through the 1930s, all the way through the 1970s and 1980s, which basically said, if you are in a neighborhood that has black people, we are not going to make investments in that neighborhood. If you have a neighborhood that has some black people, well, maybe there's a consideration and some are made. If you were in a neighborhood that had even less, then you were able to get loans, you were able to get credit, you were able to get insurances to buy a home and to start a business. And it left these voids in neighborhoods that had black people living in them. So now we see these health outcomes that are largely very similar to these patterns of neighborhoods that were not able to access these resources. So the work that I did in public health is really trying to bring healthy food to communities. And when we looked at where there were grocery stores in neighborhoods, that's an indicator of really where there is like produce, fruits and vegetables and healthy things. There are plenty of other things we can get: pizza, Chinese food, cheesesteaks, if you haven't had that, they're delicious, but you can't eat them every day. Lots of fast food restaurants and unhealthy food happening in those communities. So for us, we want to know, where are the healthy food options? So we put on a map where the darker areas, this is where all the supermarkets are in the city, which is great. And then we wanted to know, all right, we know where the supermarkets are. Well, where are the people who are high income? Where are the people who are low income? And then we put that on a map also. And in red, we have the areas that had grocery stores, but that did not have grocery stores, but also had poor people. And then we looked at health outcomes. And then we saw that neighborhoods that don't have grocery stores, that have poor people, have higher episodes of diet-related disease and death. The data showed us that. We just had to explore it. So with that information, we found that Philadelphia had the second lowest number of supermarkets in any city, that there were lots of neighborhoods where none existed at all, that this was affecting predominantly low-income people of color, and that there's a direct correlation between diet-related disease in these areas. So we convened a lot of people, and this is what we're talking about in terms of advocacy. We brought together people who worked in the supermarket industry, and bankers, and community leaders, and economic development leaders, and public health people, and most importantly, the community, to have conversations about what's happening. And then we began advocating for resources to address that problem. So we were able to, and this is an example of Hurricane Katrina, which happened in the early 2000s, where there was flooding that devastated the entire city of New Orleans, not the entire, but a good portion of the city of New Orleans. Circle Food Store, the only grocery store in the historically black neighborhood, was flooded out. And with the understanding of like what that meant to community, again, convened all of these players and were able to advocate and get resources to reopen the store a few years later, which means a lot for a community and their health. So I have other stories to share, but just wanted to start this conversation around advocacy and share some of the work that I've been involved in the United States, and prime you to think about what's happening here in Kenya. So for us, advocacy as community empowerment meant that we were trying to identify issues. What are the community challenges, and what is required for collective action to address those challenges? We got the research, we got the data, we found the existing data around health outcomes and where there were grocery stores, and we let that tell the story, right? We had a strategy that was about convening people and actionable plans. Like, we need funding from the public, from public dollars, government dollars, to incentivize the development of grocery stores in areas that don't have them, that have these issues. That was our action plan, and everything we did was driving towards that. And we mobilized community. We got stakeholders. We built coalitions with lots of different people, and people that I normally wouldn't even be across a table with, to be honest. Like, you think that you don't have much in common, but you find out that that is the one issue that you do have in common, and you build that coalition, and then you move into collective action. The campaign to advance this issue and get what you want achieved. And then we make sure that we can measure the impact, and when we're not getting it right, we pivot and refine it and go again. So those are some of the strategies that we've employed around advocacy. I'm super curious to hear from y'all. What are some of the advocacy efforts that you've witnessed or that you have participated in? What are some of the things that made it effective or not effective? What are some of the creative approaches that you might have used in this work? And then what are the resources that you need in order to do good advocacy? So we have how many people here? 4, 8, 10, about 14 people. Let's do count off 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll go here. No, 1. 1. Back to 1. All right. All the ones raise their hand. All right. Can the ones come up here? We want to engage in discussion. How about all the 2s? The 2s go right to the middle, right here. And for the 3, go back to the last row. We want to engage in some conversation, some here, then we'll come back and hear what you got to share. Sound good? Yes. All right. Thank you.
The online groups.
Oh, well, I'll figure that out. Y'all worry about y'all. All right. So thank you, though. Where's Daisy? Daisy is our online expert. Hi, Daisy. Yep, we're coming with the microphone right now. can stay where you are. You don't have to move. Okay. Yeah, you can stay.
Stay put.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alice Wangari, and I am the rapporteur for Group 2. And some of the insights from our discussion, especially on the advocacy efforts at community level, we shared about what we've been doing. And so some of the advocacy efforts that we undertake, one is community dialogues, whereby we identify a topical issue and then we engage members of the community, and specifically those who are opinion shapers. For example, myself, I volunteer with Amnesty International. And so when we are conducting our community dialogues, we mainly engage youth who are members of the social justice centers of their various areas, because the social justice centers are like the defenders of that community. They have they have a direct touch with the members of the community. They also do a lot of follow-up on redress for most of the social injustices that happen. They also do reporting and follow-up, and they add pressure, and so they become like our agents. Then the second one is traditional media engagements, and mainly we work with community-based radio stations. Like there's one called Mtaani FM, which is based in Dagoretti and Kawangware, and so when we go there, we discuss about issues affecting those communities. Mainly most of those communities have a lot of like inter-ethnic issues when it comes to like most of those communities are actually inter-ethnic settlements. Therefore, there are issues on inter-ethnic marriages, cultural differences, access to resources, access to infrastructure, and human rights violations. So we go there and empower those people to know about their rights and how they can coexist peacefully. The other one is online advocacy through release of statements, especially on issues of gross human rights violations. We conduct virtual meetings on topical issues and X spaces. That one is also very, very key. Then the other one is through artistry. For example, we release documentaries on human rights violations, and we actually use them as petitions to government on redress of such issues. Then we also organize concerts where artists can come and express themselves through drawing, spoken word, music, and also through paintings. So what is the effectiveness of some of these community empowerment advocacy avenues? One is that there is increased awareness in the community about human rights and about governance. And then also there is more cohesion in the society, and people actually learn to coexist by accepting each other's diversity. So one of the challenges that we have faced and continues to be a challenge is what we call state surveillance. Myself, I have been a victim of state surveillance because I have been engaged very much on online advocacy, especially on women's rights. Kenya has been grappling with a lot of cases of femicide, gender-based violence, and there are very many dichotomies towards the issue of women's rights violations. So when I spoke continuously about that, myself, I became a target. I have been threatened even to the highest offices, but I'm grateful because I have been finding a community of like-minded people who have been engaging me and encouraging me, and they also like offer an umbrella because they are also being targeted. So at least I have people who I can work with, people who can look out for me. So we were actually sharing on the methods of intervention here, and I was telling Amara that what needs to be done now is that we need to create an allyship of purposive intervention with the international organizations, the international community, regional communities, and the Kenyans living abroad, the diaspora community. Because I was presenting here that the foreign direct investment that the diaspora community sends to this country is about 41% of our GDP annually. And that is a great amount of money. Therefore, those are the people who should take a keen interest towards the governance of this country. Also, the diaspora community are the people who bankroll these politicians to power. Whenever there is an election that is nearing, these politicians, all of them travel abroad to fundraise. Therefore, they should also now take a direct interest to demand for accountability and the streamlining of governance institutions, because they have a stake to play as investors and also as our allies. They should also create avenues, for example, for advancement of education for the Kenyan youth, because our Kenyan youth have a very promising future, but somehow the resources within are limited. So with purposive partnership, then we can actually synergize our energies towards seeing how we can empower the youth so that we can continue growing their mindsets and their skills for better governance. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. Thank you. Yeah. One of the themes, George, you might remember one of your colleagues also noted having a deeper connection with the international community because voices here get targeted and censored, and where you can get allyship abroad. And I think there was certainly some talk about that as well. So thank you.
Thank you for handing me the microphone. I was not duly selected as the rapporteur for Group 3, but we had Boniface Muli and my colleague, of which we were discussing on Art of Dialogue in terms of advocacy, of which Boni said he runs a program that's called Jibambe na Papas that had they met in June, and part of the plan is for the young people to know their purpose in life and be aligned to it. And it focuses on sharing insights so that they can bring that eye opener to their purpose in life and serve it. And they had a talent show, they had partnership that came through so that they can also give advice on the various talents and how to bring them out. My friend Clinton had two advocacy. One focuses on cancer, and it's a road that he had experimented being a young person, and he had cancer and is a survivor, and he uses that to advocate even for more people to come out and to mobilize resources towards it. And also another one is for the young generation, the Gen Zs, to take up their spaces in terms of leadership and policy making. And I believe they have formed a group to go about it in their advocacy. Me myself, it was in line in waste management, in which we advocated for the waste which was a menace at our area, and we came through as a group, as an organization, and we spoke to the county government, and which brought the community together to see how the waste can be managed around, and through that we reached an agreement. And part of the challenges was part of the challenges I can't explain in English, but is that one misinformation from the community, and also interest. Some people have interests that are not aligned with yours, and so that bring antagonism to your drive. So all in all, we see they were connected through the youth, because even in our advocacy, we focus on the youth. Bonia focuses on the youth, and my friend Clinton here also advocates for the Gen Z, which is a space also for the youth, as he clearly puts it. we are for today and tomorrow. So we are the future and we are the present. So those were the highlights of what we discussed.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Mike. All right. And how about the group up front? Anyone?
Hi everyone. So first of all, we discussed advocacy. Do I stand?
Up to you. Okay. I'll sit.
So we were discussing about advocacy more of in the film industry. So most of us are filmmakers and others are also in other sectors. But we were discussing about advocacy in filmmaking industry, and I think we all agreed. I think we all agreed that in the film industry, we realized that there's a lot of exploitation, and we're all part of groups. There's a group called the Filmmakers Hangout, and he's also part of so many different groups that advocate for justice for makers, that advocates for good payments for filmmakers. So these campaigns are done online. We have physical offices. Some of us have physical offices, but some of us do it purely online. And so I'm going to give you guys another one that I forgot to tell them. So there is this, I am part of the UK Kenya season 2025 that is advocating about culture, art. So in this sector, we realized that the British Council was helping only the big artists. We all know Sauti Sol, we all know the girl who sang Biashara, we know her. Yeah, I forgot her name. So the British Council was only supporting big artists. So we did our communications research, and we realized that these small artists have really struggled to grow, really struggled to get platforms and get money to fund the shooting of the music videos and even the recording. So we gave the research to the British Council. They have their offices, I think Britam Towers, somewhere there. So we gave the report to them, and they decided to have the UK Kenya season this year, which is purely focusing on building giving a platform to small artists. So I don't know if you guys have seen the Instagram page is East Africa Arts. So right there you see they're giving grants to small artists, fashion designers, content creators, name it. Anything that is in the creative sector, they are giving a platform. So you guys can check that out. That is something that I was part of the team, and we really worked on that, and it's helping a lot of people. And it's not only happening in Kenya, it's also happening in Venice, the UK, and I think Belgium, Portugal. It begins in Portugal, I think next month or this month, I'm not so sure. So you can check that out. And if you're also part of any type of creative sector, if you do anything related to that, I feel like that is a very good platform. I was supposed to give a report, but I went off topic. Sorry. But yes, I feel like this is something that I really needed to say, because it's helping a lot of people. There are a lot of grants, there are a lot of opportunities. It doesn't have to be an opportunity here in Kenya. You can go to the UK and learn more skills there. Yeah, thank you.
You said what needed to be said, Stephanie, so thank you. Anything else from the group?
Hi, everyone. I'm Felix. So what we talked about here, I'm a member of Rastafarian Social Movement. It champions for the rest of the Rastafari community in Kenya. So few years ago, we heard about a girl who was denied rights to go to school simply because she had dreadlocks. So the Rastafari Social Movement went to court and advocated, and now as you are speaking, Rasta girl or Rasta boy can go to school with dreadlocks. Besides that, I'm also a filmmaker where we do social activism through film in my community, Kibera. So we have a program which will start rolling in December, where we'll be doing community screening, focusing on SDG issues, and also of late we've been having kidnappings and all sort of things. So that's what we'll be tackling film, and also educating the community their rights through film, and also advocating. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was saying to Felix Ilya, even in the U.S., this thing called the Crown Act, where black legislators had to advocate on behalf of black women, especially to be able to wear hair covered, or to wear braids, or to wear locks, and not be penalized and criminalized and stuff. So good stuff, y'all. Thank you for sharing. We are capturing what's being said, and we'll share it back to you all. And hopefully there's lots of inspiration that you're hearing from each other. There is a networking lunch where you'll be able to talk more about some of the things that were shared and some of those opportunities. We are going to take a break. You have about 15 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to be diving into the film portion of our program this morning. Thank you all. We'll come back at 11:55.
I forgot to tell you guys about the UK season.
Good. All right. Y'all look really chill. This is a very chill group. Let's stand up. Everybody stand up. Do this. Let's do a little something. All right. Let's get a little movement going on here. Let us sway back and forth and knock all the haters away from us. Get out of here, haters. Get out of here, haters. Come on. Knock those haters away. All right. How about now we reach up for all of our dreams and all of our goals and all the good things in life. Let's grab it. Let's bring it all down into existence. Let's manifest it. Make it happen. Make it happen. Take it on. Exactly. All the good things.
Hello once again. How is everybody doing? How are you? I can't hear that. I'm sure you've had some tea. How are you doing? Or you need some dawa? All right. We're just about to get into our keynote segment. I want to introduce an amazing human, a person who is the founder of a youth film platform, alongside a brilliant team that she will introduce, and they'll be guiding us into storytelling and film as civic tools from now on. Rachel Wainaina, our keynote speaker.
Asante. Oh, should I sit or stand? I can stand. Okay. Hi, guys. How are you doing? I'm very happy to be here today. First of all, just very honored to be among all these wonderful stakeholders in this room. I know each one of you is doing a fantastic job in the space where you're in, and I'm looking forward to a lot of networking. So I first want to start by acknowledging the wonderful, phenomenal team from the Art of Dialogue, starting with Dwayne, Amara, Zion, and also George, who have come here and who have also given us an opportunity to be here today. The Art of Dialogue is an amazing, amazing opportunity for us to have important conversations, network, and I hope that the conversations we're going to have here are going to be very, very sustainable, meaning we're going to keep going and keep trying to push for solutions. Before I introduce myself, I also want to acknowledge the fact that participating in the Art of Dialogue for the second time. I was lucky enough to be invited to Philadelphia last month, and I just came in from the US yesterday, and I'm happy to be here today. And when I was in Philadelphia, I had a wonderful experience, and I said before I even talking, I have to just quickly share about the experience we had in Philadelphia, where I got to visit some organizations there together with Dwayne, Amara, and the team. We visited some organizations there, and we got to see what they are doing, how they are expressing their voices. And that was really amazing. We were able to visit from the legal side to the media side, and just to visit and mix with the community. One of the things I realized that this dialogue we are having today is a global dialogue. It's also a local dialogue. So it's both. It's both a global and local dialogue that we need to have. Every community in the world has a voice, and they always need to speak out. So today I'll be speaking on media documentation as a civic witness. And I will be explaining what civic storytelling is all about in a short time. But before I do that, I want to now introduce myself and say that I'm Rachel Wainaina, and I'm a film producer and director. I'm also the founder of Youth Film Platform Africa, an organization that empowers the youth with practical and professional skills in multimedia for income generation and social self-expression. This organization was founded 10 years ago. We're in 18 countries in Africa, virtually, and then in 4 countries in Africa in physical presence. We also have interesting programs. I think the most famous program, and I'm happy to see some of our students, alumni, and also the industry professionals we partner with, is the Film Fupi Academy program, which we've been implementing. Now this is the 2nd year. And also we have the Spark the Story Masterclass, and we have the Story Shapers program in Uganda, which we premiered in Uganda this year. And all these are geared towards, helping storytellers to tell their stories. I'm very happy to see Magode here, who's a graduate of our Film Fupi Academy program, and he's continuing to tell stories in Kibra slums. And I'm very happy that Magode, the work that you're doing and the films that you're making, and very happy that you are here today as a storyteller, not as a student, and you're continuing to drive this agenda of trying to tell your story. So I'm also very happy to be joined by my team. We are a big team. Mark Miner is there at the back. He's one of our partner industry professionals, one of the most renowned filmmakers in this country, and he'll be on a panel later. The other speakers will be coming to join us. So basically, I wanted to share a story before I start telling you something about the topic that we're talking about today. So first of all, apart from being a filmmaker for all these years and being a trainer, there's something interesting you don't know about me. I was a journalist first. So I worked for KBC in the beginning of my career. And when I was working for KBC as a reporter, one day I was given an assignment and I went to the Mau forest. So I went to record a story. The police were evicting people from the Mau forest. So when I went to cover the story, I had to climb on top of a tree, hoping the police don't see me, to cover a very interesting story that I wanted the public to know that the police were using force to evict people from the Mau Forest. So they were using physical force. They were using, they were mistreating women and men. They were beating people up, and I recorded all that. And then I recorded them burning houses. And then I shipped the story to my newsroom. I don't want to mention any stations because I don't want to be sued, but it's true. It's a true story. So I gave the story. And when the story reached the media house, in the evening, I was shocked to see that the entire risk I took was useless because they just showed police burning houses. They didn't show the serious violations of human rights that happened right there that were recorded just because of the bureaucracies that are there when it comes to storytelling. So I was very devastated at the time, and I was wondering, why can't we have a way as citizens to tell our own stories? Why can't we have our own platforms? That was in around 2005. So we were still very behind in technology. We didn't have all these YouTube and all these platforms that we could use to tell our stories. We used to ship tapes, mini DV tapes, to the newsroom, and they could take time to get there because you had to, like for me, I was based in Narok, and I had to ship the stories through buses, and they had to come within 3 hours. Then the station had to go and pick and cut. But the bureaucracies in the media are clear, and I think we all agree that there is that limitation that the mainstream media has. They don't have control over it. One, because in our country, the media, of course, is also regulated by the government itself. So the media, the mainstream media alone cannot do everything for us. We need to do something as the citizens. Allow me to also say that as the people in the creative economy space, it is our collective responsibility, actually it's the collective responsibility of all Kenyans to really put their stories into the limelight. And I say this also as an African. I think we really need to put more of our stories out there. And also we need to stop defining our stories as only the negative stories. There's this connotation that when you go to tell a community story, you just have to tell the negative story. What about all the wonderful innovators we have in this country who are doing amazing stuff? Who is telling their stories? Okay, we have people like Maurice Mbetsa, a Mandela Washington Fellow, 2014. I had the honor of going to the same university with him and the same fellowship year with him. This guy discovered the first speed governor in Kenya, and he created it from scratch. He made a flying drone and all that. And I'm sure most people in this room don't know him, right? He runs an 8 billion shillings tech company in Kenya, the biggest IoT company in Africa. And I'm sure majority of you don't know his name. He created jobs for 800 people who are earning and feeding their families, but who is telling Maurice Mbetsa's story? Currently, Maurice Mbetsa is in Minnesota in the US, and he's launching a product. He's partnered with some of the biggest companies in Silicon Valley. And today, I'm sure in Kenyan news and everywhere else, nobody knows what Maurice Mbetsa is doing. So it's important as we keep thinking about how we tell our stories. Let's think about stories in general. What's a real African story that we can continue to tell so that the world can know who we are? We have the positive side, we have the negative side, our struggles, we have our wins. So when we're telling our stories, it's important to be balanced as storytellers. And who is a storyteller? Somebody who's capable of using art, using music, using of art to say something that you've observed in society. And that's very, very important. Which to me means being able to document the truth, being able to document the truth through media, film, art, and digital content, and other forms of art. So it's about the truth. It's the truth. The truth will never make it to the mainstream media. Do you know that? Time we watch the news, something that barely makes it mainstream media. But we are not living in that age where we used to live in before, where we don't have a platform to express ourselves. I'm very happy to be here with a friend, Genge. How many of you know Jim Watt Genge? Yeah, he's here. And Jim Watt, he's sitting at the back. And Jim Watt has used music to entertain us and to speak about social issues. And you remember when he sang his song, Sito Ikitu Kidogo, you know? Like, I'm not bribing, and I invite him at the end. And that song is so entertaining. When you're dancing to that song, you really feel like you got a message and feel like, why am I bribing people? Why am I corrupt? You know, you start thinking about. So it's very important to be able to document our truth. But we have so many tools at our disposal to be able to do that. So we can use many tools. We can use film, can use art, can use music, can use anything in your paintings, in any way that you feel like you can speak. You can tweet. You can do any platform you feel that you can use to tell your story, but make sure you're not silenced. And I wanted to say and push out as a statistic here. Did you know that Africa is the youngest continent in the world? Did you know that? Africa is the youngest continent in the world. And what I mean by that, Africa has more than 60% of its population being the youth. 60% of African population is the youth. That's a big, big asset that we have in Africa. This means that we are able to actually go out there as the youth and really create change. We are the majority, okay? So our voices can be heard. So it's very important to know the art of numbers, because when you know the numbers, then you know that you can cause change. Because when you bring the numbers together, you can cause change. The advantage we have with the youth is that they are very good with their technology, and they know how to use the different platforms, the TikTok and the other platforms. Posting about your story, posting about your success story, your struggles, is one way of advocating for a better lifestyle for yourself. For instance, if you're struggling from a disease or you're sick or something like that, and you post about the bad medical services you're receiving or something like that, it helps people to understand that there is a problem that needs to be solved. Don't keep quiet with your story. So I also want to tell you an interesting statistics. Over 500 million Africans have smartphones. Internet connectivity in Africa is becoming better and better day by day. It's almost becoming free. It's not like a big deal for us to be able to have access to internet connectivity. We can be able to have it and not feel it. So that means we're in that stage where we are also leading in the internet space. How do we use our smartphones? How are we using our smartphones? We can use our smartphones to tell the stories. I want to remind you that your smartphone can record full HD videos. The minimum quality of a smartphone today is 1920 by 1080 in your camera. That means you have such a high quality camera in your phone. You have sound, and you can just pick your phone and record the truth and be able to tell the story. So through Film Fupi Academy program, for example, we've made a couple of films to create awareness. So for instance, in the class where Magode was a part of, we made 3 short films. And these short films were addressing issues of governance. They were addressing issues of climate change. They were addressing issues of innovation. And we had even a film called Maviding that was addressing the issue of crime and sports, how sports can be used to solve crime. So all these films that we've made, we don't just make them. We go and screen them to an audience and have the community discussing, so that then we can reach the message. So beyond film, you can use other many storytelling platforms that are available. A civic witness is bigger than a filmmaker or an artist, because a civic witness is somebody who sees something happening in their community and uses poetry, uses, murals, whatever they can use to try and put that out there. I want to celebrate some people, amazing creatives in this industry who have done an amazing job. For example, Nick Wambugu and Mark Miner, who's back there. They just released a documentary on the Gen Z protest. You remember that? Actually, Nick was arrested, was among the 4 guys who were arrested. And can we please appreciate them and clap for them for being bold enough to do that? I also want to appreciate Vigilance Atieno, who is also a producer, and she's behind there. Vigilance. Vigilance is there. Can we appreciate Vigilance? Vigilance, of course, we all know her as a big unit producer, but she's also in theater. She produces theater, and she does film and digital advocacy on human rights and mainly LGBTQ. She's a big advocate, and she speaks out, not only using the art forms that she's using, like theater, but also using her social media platforms. I also want to celebrate Suki Makeup Africa, who will be joining us shortly, who's using makeup. Who would have thought that a makeup artist would have an opportunity to participate in storytelling for advocacy? But Suki is making sure Black people look really pretty on screen as Black. And that's amazing. Can we appreciate him? And he's not trying to make Black people look white or something else on our screen. So when you watch the movies and you watch the TV series where Suki is a makeup artist, you really enjoy watching them. You see yourself for who you are. If your color is this, you just see yourself in your own color, and that's advocacy. So there are so many ways we can all participate in advocacy. I also want to appreciate musicians, for example, like our own artist. I'm going to invite him, Jim Watt, later, who are using lyrics that are inspiring behavior change. So these leaders, they remind us that advocacy is not one person's work. Rachel alone, making her own film, cannot make a lot of impact. Everybody in this room has to stand together and decide it's time to speak up. And all of us are talented in different ways. So I want to summarize this into some few points so that at least we can have some main takeaways. So how can you tell your stories, your civic stories? So one, I would say tell stories that spark reflection, not hostility. Sometimes we are so much, drawn into emotions, such that as storytellers, we forget that the impact of what our stories will be. So when we are telling our stories, let's tell stories that spark somebody reflecting and acting on their own volition rather than inciting people to be hostile, right? That is a good thing. Second, let's realize that change is a collective responsibility. It cannot happen without you. Tell your neighbor that. Change cannot happen without you. Yeah, it cannot happen without you. Everybody needs to play their part for change to happen. So we all have to do it together. 3, always know your end goal for your story. So if you're tweeting, what's the end goal? Are you just tweeting to complain? Or do you want to achieve something at the end of it? Tag the right people. Make sure the person you're speaking to knows that you posted what you posted. Tag the right people, have the right skills, and get results from whatever you're speaking about. So sometimes we just post with an end goal. Is the end goal to market? Is the end goal to get a solution? Is the end goal to get the government to listen? So how do you get the government to listen? Okay, mobilize, strategize, and do it the right way. Then you're going to be good. Then also, use the tools and talents you already have. So you do not need to become a filmmaker like me to tell the story. You can just be you. Tell your neighbor you can just be you. Just be you. There's so many ways to tell your story, okay? You can even, like, I always say, even silence, and you just pick a big banner with a message and you stand on the side. People are going to read your message and people are going to understand what you're talking about. So just be you, be the authentic you when you're doing this advocacy work, but make sure your story is heard, it's visible, and it's being heard. Also, have the ability to mobilize. As I've said, this is a collective responsibility. So if we are able to mobilize our peers to buy into the story we're trying to tell, to watch, to give their comments, to give their views, our communities are involved in the stories that we are telling, then that way we are not telling our own stories, we are telling the community stories. So please be able to mobilize resources, mobilize people, mobilize other people so that your story can reach out. Then also, the other thing is make the stories relatable. Make the stories relatable and actionable. Don't just tell us a story which we wonder, what do you want? You understand? Have you ever read a story and then you're wondering, so what? So what? You know, because you don't know what that person wants. And that happens when you don't have a goal for your story. So when you're telling your story and you have a goal, then of course it's going to be relatable and actionable. So for example, if I come and pick an Eastland story and go and screen it in Philadelphia, the person in Philadelphia may not relate with the Eastland story because they don't know the Eastland's culture and all that. So if I was making this story from the beginning, knowing that I'm going to screen it in Kenya and in Philadelphia, there's a way I'll balance the story so that even the person in Philadelphia can be able to understand this story and relate with it and see themselves in this story. People don't like watching stories that they cannot relate with. And that's why if you look at the most popular themes in stories, it's love, right? Love, revenge, betrayal. Those things are very common because everybody can relate with that. Many people have gone through that. Okay, so again, invite dialogues. The thing is, when you make your story, make sure you screen it to many people as possible. If it's an advocacy story, use platforms like YouTube and other platforms to amplify your voice so that as many eyeballs can see it. Ask people to give you their comments. You're not always right. Ask people to give you their comments and to tell you what other stories you can focus on as a citizen journalist. And then the other thing is celebrate positive African stories. Hey, this one, you must say it. Celebrate positive African stories. Yes, that's one way we are going to change the narrative about Africa. We have to celebrate positive African stories. So if you do 2 stories that are negative, make sure to do one that is positive about Africa. So I want to ask you a question. How many of you have seen a film, a TikTok video, a song that shifted how you saw an issue? Anybody who has seen a video, a TikTok video, a film that shifted your mindset on how you saw a particular issue? Anyone? Nobody saw a film that influenced them. You did? Yeah. And a TikTok, a poem, anything that changed your mind, a piece of creative work. Magode, maybe you can tell us about it.
I don't know the actual name of the song, but it's called, the lyrics goes, Nikonja nasi wezi karanga. You see, the song bring up some liberation within you. See, something deep.
Thank you so much for sharing about that. Yeah, so that's what Magode is sharing. He listened to a song and it touches his heart and he can relate with it the way it was done. And I'm sure most of us have done that. Do you have an experience? Just a quick one.
Yeah, just like Magode, I'm also sorry about that.
just like Magode, I'm also inspired by two songs that always spark a lot of, positivity and optimism in me. One of them is Revolution by Tracy Chapman. And then the other one is, it's a song by the late, great Tina Turner, where she talks about we don't need another hero. We just need to make it beyond the third. Actually, the song is called Third. So it's about fighting for women's rights.
Wow. Thank you so much and for sharing. Let's appreciate the two wonderful human beings who've shared their stories. Sorry, I was not able to read the name of Alice and Magode. Thank you very much. So I want you to silently ask yourself, if you were to document one story from your community today, what would it be? That's my main takeaway for you. If you were to document one story from your community, what would that be? So as I close, I want to say that, until the lion, there's this proverb that says, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. So please always remember that. Also, please remember that 17% of the world is from Africa. Africa only gets 1% of revenues in the creative economy. Can you imagine that? 17% of the population in the world is African, but Africa only contributing 1%. We need to take that percent up. We need to tell our stories. Okay? So we need to see our part, what role we can be able to play, and we all need to join together and be able to tell our stories using the different platforms we have. My challenge to all of us today is to choose to tell a story before this year ends. Tell a story about your community, stand up about issues, and be able to speak out. Make sure not to speak out to stir conflict, but to speak out to get solutions, to speak out to make people to reflect, and to have an objective with your stories. So to the panelists who will be coming, I know a lot will be discussed, but there's different roles. There's roles of government, there's roles of us as private citizens. But I believe our role as private citizens is bigger because we are many, we are the majority. And if we each take responsibility and say we are going to use our social media platforms to amplify and advocate for change, it will really happen. Otherwise, I really want to thank the Art of Dialogue team once again for giving me this opportunity, and to also now take this opportunity to invite one artist who has been using music to advocate. Jim Watt was singing things back then. I think I started listening to Jim Watt's music in 2005. Can we really appreciate him? It's 20 years plus. And what I like about him is that apart from being an artist, he's also now an advocate for mental health. He is a champion. He has a wonderful story that he has gone through, and I'm very happy to see prominent Kenyan musicians being able to take part in storytelling and even promoting advocacy. So join me and give a hand of applause to Jim Watt as he entertains us today. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, is it good mid-morning or good afternoon? Okay, pleasure being here. Wise words from Rachel and everyone who's contributed. As artists, we don't talk much, so I'll just do a snippet of some of my songs. But before that, I'd like to say, I'm in line with what you guys do with things like short films, because our music videos are actually like a short film. When it comes to a song like Sitoi Kitu Kidogo, we're talking about say no to corruption, but we're doing it in a funny way because there's a lot of humor in it, but it's just a normal way of how you're going from work. Maybe you're going home, a cop stops you and they want a bribe from you, but we advocate by telling them Sitoi Kitu, Sitoi Kitu. Yeah, so I can like to see if we can go back in time and remember the lyrics to these songs. It went something like, sitoi kitu kido, unasema nini? Sitoi kitu kido, utalala ndani. Sitoi kitu kido, 200 ofisa Joe, nimechoka na kutoa hongo. Sitoi, unasema nini? Utalala ndani. 200 ofisa Joe, nimechoka na kutoa hongo. Kila mdhii anadai corruption ni blanda, hata makarau lakini bado ananihanda. Napatana nao usiku nkitoka job kwa njia sina 100, hawezi nihurumia. Wanza kijana hebu toa kipande, mazee Joe uskini lisahau afande. Okay, sasa itabidi umelala ndani. Hapana, najua right zangu yesikubali. Eti una right, mi naona una wrong. Akanipiga kibaa reverse ndai yao. Hebu weka hii kijaa kwa Miriamu, inaniongelesha unadhani we ni nyanyangu. Si hivyo, nimefikisha 18 tu juzi, napata ID ntafa, sunelewa kuna upuzi. Ina go down, hebu slow down, sielewi ugaanza kuongea ganja. Sitoi kitu, unasema nini? Utalala ndani. 200 ofisa Joe, nimechoka na kutoa. Say no to corrupt. Yeah, so basically that's the advice in that song. So in any situation you're caught in, like, it starts with you. You can just say no to corruption and you can solve it amicably and in a better way. When it comes to a song like Under 18, the Under 18 theme was like when the underage girls on with young guys like the teens and like the Gen Z currently, when they go to clubs, they can get sneak in without having an ID. So my message was, make sure you're the one who's over 18, you are an adult, so you take charge and say no to underage drinking, taking advantage of underage girls and stuff like that. And I know most guys remember that song. We launched it around the same time Rachel started listening to me, around 2005, but it went big in 2006. So the lyrics went kind of, kumbe ni under 18, ai sami ningejuaje, hey, kumbe ni mazejo venye napewa ati maji hapa ni dawa iko venye napewa dawa, hey, kumbe ni ai jo sijui itakuwaje, hey, kumbe ni mazejo nitambiaje jaje. Life ni stress sikatai, lakini ni blessing kuwa hai, ndo maana kila Friday unibidi na furahi. Sai siku mini shaingi ya library, pesa zitoshe mfuko ziko kwa kikapu. Dema shawika aya ini ile ashararuka, ashaanza kucheka Kiswahili na hanya hata kabla bzamka hajanza kwenda nishamwagizia dawa na sambuka. Hey, kumbe ni ai josa ningejuaje, hey, kumbe ni mazejo venye napewa dawa. Jipigieni makofi, naona mkorada. That's the new remix. And kumalizia naweza sema hivi, this is catchphrase for that song. So whenever you're doing something pertaining to entertainment, make sure you leave something memorable in it. If it's a video, it has to have a punchline, it has to have a climax. Like I remember when we were doing composition, because basically when it comes to storytelling, there has to be an intro, middle part, and an outro. So you have to have a punchline that guys will remember mostly with it. So you guys are good creatives, all the best. And tumalizie na kusema, si unani like na mimi na kulike, so tuna si una storytell na mimi na storytell, so tuna storytell liana. Jipigieni makofi. Shukran. God bless you.
Okay, thank you much. Just before I sit down, I have another friend who's here with me today. He also got to meet Dwayne. His name is Solomon Omboto. We're working in the same field. He's the CEO of Myogenic Africa Talent. He took me to the US, guys, and he's the one who organized the Myogenic Excellence Awards. And today we are going to receive Mama Kayae. I know Mama Kayae was trending. You saw Mama Kayae trending? You saw the awards that she attended. So Solomon is the one who had organized that in the US. He honored us, and I would like to give him a minute to say hello and just speak quickly about what Myogenic does, and tell us how you're promoting storytellers, just for 2 minutes. Karibu sana. Let's have Solomon. Thank you.
Thank you. How are you guys doing? As you have heard, my name is Solomon Omboto, aka Mr. Myogenic himself. Hi, nice to see you, brother. You made it on this side. Welcome to Kenya. All right. As Rich has mentioned, I'm the CEO of Myogenic Africa Talent Academy. We do identify and mentor nature talent and also do mentorship program right here in Africa. We just came back from US. We're still struggling with jet lags and whatnot. So just put me on spot. I was not ready to talk about Myogenic, but let me talk about what you guys are talking about here so that we can talk about Myogenic later. For what I've gathered, we have the voice of the change that we need, and thank God these days we have the net that we can do research and know our rights and stand for our rights and use stories to tell your neighbor about our rights and what we need to stand for. And like Jim Watu has just left the floor, singing the song Sitoi Kitu Kidogo. I hope you guys got something from that song. That is a song talking about that no corruption, and that's what is actually killing Africa from progressing and reaching our heights. So if we stand together and do research and put in work and be honest with what we're doing and do the best at your level, we can move far. I'm a retired US Army soldier. I did 11 years in the military. So it's all about putting in that work, hard work, and trusting the process, and also understanding your support system. Right now, we have a very good support system. As you can see, the folks who have put this together, that's the support system I'm talking about. We need to take advantage of that support system, okay? And we need to rise up and shine. That's what I gotta say. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Back to Dwayne, and thank you very much.
All right. So thank you all. Good way to end the morning. So I know that we are scheduled for lunch at 1. Not sure where the setup is and if it's even available, but we definitely have that next on the agenda. In the meantime, there's some delicious juice and tea. But yeah, I think we're going to take a break right now. So we'll figure out what the... Okay. Okay, so lunch will be arriving shortly. So mingle. It's really, the lunchtime is set up for networking, getting to talk with each other more, get to know each other. Again, incredible knowledge, wisdom, resources are all in this room. So use that time wisely. And we'll see you back in an hour, probably at 2 o'clock. Yep. Thank you.
I hope you're loving interacting with each other, because you're here to create, collaborate, and ensure that it's all about civic engagement, okay? Connect. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we're definitely in schedule. So I know it's been quite the morning of interactive sessions. we're just about to break for lunch. I hope you have some space in your tummies. So kindly, if you're ready, grab your meal card and make sure that you come in and sample some of the amazing food we have for you. All right? And then we'll have our sessions begin at exactly 2 p.m. All right? We have the Film Fupi panelists that are going to be...
Ndo namaliza kutengeneza uji alafu nipeleke kida.
Sawa, wachana hapo iendelee kupoa. Hebu niletee vitu zangu za kibanda.
Wiki, bro. Amka kunywa dawa. Alafu kimaliza nimekutengenezea kauji. Haya, shika. Nini?
Nisidi gazeti nishike tu.
Halo? Ai, besti yako ashafika? Na kama tu sai ni kitu tu nilikuwa namaliza kufanya hapa. Amka uende kabla watu waje huko. Sawa. Amka Wiki ukimbia choo. Utapata watu wame choo huko mtaani. Wiki. Bro. Wiki. Wiki amefaint.
Ati nini?
Mama amelemewa.
Ati nini?
Wewe mtoto wangu.
Mama Tony.
Yes.
Unaweza niangalilia kibanda? Nafaa kukimbia hosi na ni Wiki askipoa ni mgonjwa.
Oh, ni sawa. Atakuwa sawa. Okay, ni sawa.
Ako?
Leka huko hivyo ndani. Msema tumngoje hapa. Halo? 0 minutes. Besti yako ashafika. Niko hapo tu sai. Cheki mam. Unakumbuka ile photoshoot nilikuwa naenda? Manzi nimechelewa. Acha nikuachie hapa kiasi ndakam.
Okay, sawa. Acha nikupe kizi.
Nisaidie funguo.
Ndio hizo.
Sawa mambo. Haya. Tunasema mmekuwa best friends for how long? 6 years. Very nice. Ingine one more. Kasirika. Wazi.
Inakaa fiti.
Tumesema shughuli next ni nini?
Very soon tutakall tu.
Haya.
Hapo utakumtumia before 7 p.m. kwa?
Enda kwa nishatuma before 7 p.m.
Hapo.
Nyinyi wa deadly nilikuwa nimewasha nyinyi wazi.
Hii ni kali.
Hey.
Baby.
Hai, sasa.
Kaje.
Poa sana.
Nimechoka.
Pole sana. Karibu.
Ukaanza nisaidia laptop na simu nitumie client hizo picha zake.
Okay.
Hapana wa.
Mbaya.
Mimi sioni kama hii job inanipatia pesa ya kutosha. Azin, manzi mimi naona nikana get tu so tatu hapa. Nikipatia msee wa kamera pesa yake na nitoe pesa ya fare, hakuna kitu yenye na get.
But umekuwa ukisema for a long time that utabai kamera yako.
Tabai tu babe.
Lini? Unajua umekuwa ukisema hivyo for how long? 3 years.
Tuko na babe, si nimekwambia ndabai, najaribu pia mimi.
Sana basi.
Anyway, acha nipeleke kamera kwa mwenyewe kabla niambie tena nimekaa nayo another extra day nilipishe. Sawa?
Before uende, mapesa yangu lipa deni. Tapi niko broke.
Baby. Chiki babe, shika hii half kwanza, alafu hiyo half ingine na kujenga nikiget yangu hiyo next.
Can you say a gig next utapata leo?
Ay baby, very soon, very soon. Inaweza kuwa hata hii wiki tu. Sawa? Sawa. Acha nikipize hii menjes kabla mjamaa afanye mambo yake. Sawa? Utabonga.
Simu hata ijamaliza 2 months. Sasa nitaambia nini wazazi wangu? Surely. Nizo pics hata ulikuwa unafanyia nini?
Nilikuwa nadai nilikuwa tu nadai kuzipost online. Labda gava yone venye hii area yetu imechachisha.
Since when do you even care about the environment? Huh? Mike, since when? Sasa utanijibu?
Since bro yangu apate cholera.
What? Cholera? Kuna mtu wa aunti yangu alikufa juu ya ugonjwa. Pole. Ako wapi? Ako sawa?
Sayako usi ameadmitiwa.
Pole. Na upatakuwa sawa. Lakini sasa utadu.
Idea. Hii dump site lazima itoke hapa. Inatuchomea na inatuharibia maisha yetu sisi wote. Ama Ndio.
Manze, nashukuru sana juu ya refreshments, lakini idea yako haiwezi. Hata mimi niende kupiga mapicha nini, sijui ni post, sijui hashtag what, sijui buda kwani si ni mavixen nini.
Wewe
Maiki, baina ushacheki hiyo place iko na wenyewe, si ndio? Kuna waswadu huko. Kushoda ipigana nao.
Cheki, mimi naona tukiwakeza.
Kuna haja tukudanganye. Acha sisi tuende tu hivyo.
So tulikuwa tumefika wapi?
Tutajipanga.
So mtani mse mmoja atusaidie kupiga picha, mse mwingine kuchukua mavida.
Mimi nitapiga mapicha.
Hapo sawa.
Na mimi nitachukua mavida.
Yote iko fiti, tutasaidiana na wewe hiyo sekta. Sawa. Poa, si basi tuishi.
Yo, Mike, chill kiasi.
Sure. Yaani tunang'ang'ana hii area yetu hapa isafishwe. Ni kwa mnafanya hivi mavipi? Amoni venye hii area yetu inakaa. Acha toa. Leta. Leta utenje. Hizo matenje. Tena mara mbili tumechia. Sawa. Chikiwa imeanza kupick up, so iko a bit slow, but kuna wasekiasi wameanza kurespond.
Wasi wako hopeless, but itabidi tu tumeendelea kupost.
Stashinda panikia. Alingana kuna kitu.
Sasa hii maisha imekuwa ngumu sana na hii uchumi.
Ni school fees, rent, chakula tutatafuta, ama ni magonjwa tutatibu. Hata pia mimi wiki wangu wako hospitali. Na mimi ndio mama na mimi ndio baba.
Wewe haki kolera. Kwanza nasikia mama Chloe mtoto wake alikufa. Si mimi nawaambia, nasikia alikufa leo asubuhi kupelekwa hosi.
Aki hii kolera. Mike na marafiki zake wamesema wata make sure governor ametoa hii damu saituku. Ni kwa sababu ya hizi mauchafu, maugonjwa zinatapaka.
Ati governor. Sasa governor atafanya nini? Sio damu siti imekuanga tu pale. Alafu hizo takataka zote zibebwe zipelekwe wapi?
Wanaweza fanya recycling. Ama watafute kwenye hakuna takataka wapeleke hii damu site. Mama Gracie, si unakuanga na smartphone?
Mbona?
Nipe. Leta nikuonyeshe Kenya kina Mike na marafiki zake wamepost, ndio tuweze kulike, kucomment na kushare, ndio iweze kufikia huyo governor. Ndio hii.
Mike, ni usiangalie ndo news.
Uzalendo News.
Yeah, imagine wamelike wakacomment na pia wanashare kwa pages zao.
Uzalendo News.
Cheki. Cheki.
Umecheki wase.
Sasa sijui story Mike. Kujipoa hivi bana.
Kuna kajus kaliko kwa mama. Guys, nimefikia gavana. Amelike. Anasema tu contact office ya
Kundi la vijana wa eneo hili liliungana na kutumia mitandao ya kijamii kuonyeshana ghadhabu yao kutokana na maafa yaliyokuwa yametendeka hapa. Bila shaka, uongozi wa eneo hili haukuwa na budi ila kuwajibika. Ukitazama vizuri, utafahamu kwamba vijana hao wanaendelea kupanda miche ya miti ili kuondoa uchafuzi wa hewa na kuanzisha bustani la kubarizi na kuandalia michezo.
Amepanguza poa. Yes, unaona hapa palikuwa na matakataka zimejaa huku na hii side nyingine wakazitoa huku wote. Mike, ulikuwa ukiniambia ukweli ati gavana amesema atatoa hii dump site huku. Wow, enyewe umesaidia hii mtaa sana. I'm so proud of you.
Si mimi peke yangu je, kasi help ya hawa friends wangu.
Okay.
Sidhani ningeweza fanya kitu solo. Bro, kwanza kuona waje COVID.
Have you enjoyed your lunch? Yeah, so welcome back to the afternoon session. We're going to be having a panel on storytelling, and we have a wonderful panel from the Film Fupi Academy. The film you just watched was done by the students of Film Fupi Academy. I hope you liked it and the advocacy message in it. So before they start coming up, I just want to show you what they're doing, so that if there's that part of question and answer, it gives you like a so I'm going to start introducing the panelists, and as I introduce each one of them, I'm going to play something about them, something short, so that you can see them for the industry. Mainly this panel will be focusing on storytelling through film. What we are doing in the industry, and I know Nick will be joining us online, but Mark is well here to represent the documentary team. So I'm going to start by introducing Duncan Moronyo, who's an actor. He was the lead actor in Bodalove, so you can watch the trailer and see his work real quick, and then I'm going to keep introducing all of them. Thank you.
My phone on my bag, please. Please. Help!
Waiting for for the mic to maybe somebody, for the sake of those people who've just come in now, maybe we can take a few takeaways from the morning session and just share what you've learned in the morning session. I'm just going to pick anyone to just say so that people can catch up. I'll start with you. Just tell us anything that you've learned in the morning session.
So, hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Robinson Kimani. I've learned about advocacy, especially for the youth, and I have learned so many things about ethic filming. I've also learned about. It's okay. I've learned that we can be able to share our thoughts, our minds, our inner challenges that we face every day through music, through art. And I think when you do art, you can actually, if you are able to communicate art or communicate whatever you are facing, the challenges that you're facing, you can also do it with art. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we'll keep taking the takeaways. And please, if you meet someone who was not here in the morning, please do share the fire so that we can all leave here feeling much better. Thank you. Magode, you can play.
Person. We went online, so it's frozen. My phone, oh my God, please, please, help!
What? You? This is my house. Sold your mother's house and sent the money to your boyfriend here in Kenya.
Your boyfriend fell out of love. That is not a criminal offense in this country.
I'm like.
Like.
Hey. What's going on?
This is just my Bodhi driver.
Why are you booking a flight? People are like that. People do such things all the time. You've been leading him on. Don't understand anything.
Let's appreciate a phenomenal actor. He was lead actor in Border Love. Next, I'm going to introduce Suki. I told you about Suki earlier. Suki is using makeup to make sure that when you're watching a TV show or when you're watching a film, you're able to see black people looking the black that they are and looking good, and he makes sure not to enhance colors and do all those things. So he's using makeup really for advocacy and for ensuring human rights are observed during the filmmaking process. And I'm going to now show you okay, so I can you can play the vigilance one first then. Let me introduce Vigilance first. Okay. Oh, it's there. Suki, which one is it? Up. Ilikuwa imefunguliwa. There, yeah, play. Okay, so this is about Suki. Thank you.
My name is John Michuki, better known as Suki. I'm a makeup artist based in Nairobi, Kenya. I tell stories with makeup. I started out at the barber shop in Dagoretti Corner. I've done so many movies, music videos. I'm so excited as I'm partnering with the American Embassy through the American Spaces. So I am calling it Script to Skin because this is a makeup workshop that's going to take 1 year and it's going to equip makeup artists with the skills. Apart from that, they're going to have business skills to run a successful makeup career. And this will be so effective because we are going to get 100 deserving young people and we're just going to take them through a series of virtual classes. And then I'm going to visit all these places and have practical classes with them. And at the end of the year, we're going to have 100 makeup artists, plug them into media houses and potential employers who will take them out as makeup artists.
Let's appreciate Suki as he comes to the front. And then next, I want to introduce a phenomenal woman. Her name is Vigilance. On Facebook, they know her more as filmmaker Atieno. Sorry. On Facebook, they know her more as filmmaker Atieno, sorry. Sorry, Vigilance, for misspelling your name. So she's been doing a lot of advocacy through theater. For those of you who've watched the one-woman shows with Dr. Zippy Okoth, she's always the producer. She uses theater, she uses film, and she's also done a couple of advocacy projects. And this is just one example of how you can tell your story. So as a video that they did for International Women's Day. So Magode, you can play it.
Happy International Women's Day!
For me, I'm celebrating my mother.
Of course, my mom and my mother-in-law. For me, I'm celebrating my daughter.
Definitely my mom. I love her so much.
What a wonder it is to tell a woman who she should be when one has not yet taken the time to see who she has already become. If you looked closely enough,
You'd see that I do not stand alone.
I carry the legacy of the ones who came before me.
I'm fierce. I'm a daughter of fire, building from the dust.
I am the one who dares to dream beyond the walls that cave me in.
I am natural.
I am the calm before the storm.
I am human and I'm a woman.
My story comes before me
and believe beyond me.
My story carries truth and pain,
but it also carries hope. I celebrate you, not only today, every day.
Carries love
and the gift to birth a future that is my own.
Listen closely. They will ask you who you are when they have already decided who they will allow you to be.
They will tell you to look up the stars and ignore the glass ceiling.
They will tell you how high you can climb and how far you can go.
Dr. Zippy is an amazing part of my life. I celebrate you today because you're a resilient woman.
They taught me a lot about family. They said, whatever happens, remember, family comes first.
I'm celebrating myself.
They will let you on the field,
but constantly move the goalposts. They will tell you how to style your hair, but I've not met the hands that braided my twists and carried my fears. But rarely will they tell you about the daughters of fire, the women who built from dust, of Mekatilili Wamenza,
or of my mother.
So the moment when she lifts my chin up,
the same way my grandmother did for her. When she smiles and her eyes travel to the horizon, I rise with it, like a phoenix, not just for myself, but for those who were and those who are yet to come. My story has only just begun. I am human, and I I'm a woman.
Remember me.
Let's celebrate the amazing storyteller that is Vigilance Atieno as she comes to the front. And as we do that, I also want to celebrate one more phenomenal woman who is also in our midst. She actually attended the Film Fupi Academy classes with her baby from the beginning to the end. And when I invited her here today, she came with that baby actually. And she graduated last year as a storyteller. She's our project coordinator for the Film Fupi Academy program, and she's also an expert in water and sanitation. None other than Sandra Rakwar. Let's give it up for Sandra Rakwar, a wonderful mother who's multitasking and ensuring that she's also continuing with the storytelling narrative. Karibu sana. And finally, I'm going to invite a phenomenal director, I would dare say one of the best film directors in Kenya. His name is Mark Minor. His most recent work is a documentary that almost got him in trouble. So they did this documentary about the Gen Z demonstrations. And they just premiered it, and you're going to see 6 minutes of it. Hey, sim tupige makofi kidogo. Yeah, it's there. I just want you to see just a little bit of it, but I know Mark will tell us where we can see the entire documentary. It's 50 minutes because it's important for us to just see the different perspectives of what is happening in our country. So you can play that. Thank you.
Gunshots, screams, smoke in the air. Police push forward, protesters scatter. In the middle of it all, a camera clicks. Voices about Bunge, which means parliament. This is where the world started paying attention. It started weeks earlier, with frustration, with questions, with a document many would come to oppose. On paper, it was called the 2024 Finance Bill, a government effort to raise revenue, pay off debt, and stabilize the economy.
Wanted to levy a tax on bread and milk, wanted to increase petrol prices. Like, it was super crazy as a bill, and I was like, we must reject this thing.
In the just released Finance Bill of 2024, it is confirmed that vehicle owners will be subjected to annual tax of 2.5% of the value of the vehicle.
President William Ruto is defending the 2025 Finance Bill. It is the only way to get out of the debt burden and relying on borrowing. This, he says, is through the collection of our own revenue.
We must be able to enhance our taxes.
But for millions of Kenyans, especially the young, it felt like one thing: punishment. Punishment for surviving in a country that had already taken too much.
If you say you're a Gen Z and you don't care because maybe you don't have revenues or income to be taxed for now, you are the next target next year.
Everyone was talking about the Finance Bill 2024, the taxes, the proposal, and how they're going to affect us.
We are being lied to as a country that now VAT on the bread is going to be reduced, which anyway was not there in the first place. You are the ones who came up with this crazy idea.
I would love buy diapers for my babies in Kenya.
Linda mama ilitolewa, pads zilikuwa zinaenda kuwa even more expensive.
Women cannot go to work because they do not have pads. But you want to overtax pads.
Content creators being taxed for what?
At first, people tried to understand the bill. They held forums, they translated clauses, they made TikToks. This time, the people educated themselves. Then, they rose.
It was intentional that we did it in social media. It was important for the numbers. It was important for the narrative. It was important for everyone to feel together with the movement as far as they were.
Photos were being taken off the internet and being edited to look like they were in the streets of Nairobi, but they were not.
I've never seen so many police with people. You can imagine you get into somewhere that umezoea kwenda
week, and now the numbers are way more than that.
In cities and towns across Kenya, something rare began to happen. People who had never protested before were now marching, organizing, occupying space. They said, reject. Parliament belonged to the people, and on June 25th, the people came. What started as a peaceful protest became a national reckoning. By the end of that day, at least 3 young men were dead, and the nation had crossed the line.
Today, Kenya experienced an unprecedented attack on its democracy, rule of law, and the integrity of its constitutional institutions.
But this is not just a story about violence. It's a story about voice, about a generation that refused silence, and the women often unseen who carried the resistance on their backs. This is their story, told in their words.
You can speak with Yambo. I'm the president of the Law Society of Kenya.
My name is Boniface Mwangi, popularly known as the People's Watchman, a good troublemaker and an activist.
My name is Zaha Ndimuli. I'm a feminist, a women's rights activist, and a human rights defender.
My name is Justine Wanda. I am a stand-up comedian. I am a political commentator. I really love to make people laugh.
My name is Victoria Komo. I am a photographer and a filmmaker.
My name is Wanjira Wanjiro. I am co-founder of Magara Social Justice Center. I'm also a podcaster.
My name is Kazmo Makurule. I am a musician, a revolutionary artist, a teacher, but most of you know me as a political voice.
My name is Hanifa Satya Aden. I'm an active citizen, a human rights defender, and a journalist.
Wow, let's appreciate Mark Miner as he comes to the front. Yeah, so thank you so much, Magode, for the screening assistance. I'm gonna sit here so that you guys can enjoy the space on the panel. And very much welcome to the panel. I'm hoping you have enough microphones there. So we want to appreciate you for coming. And yeah, so we want to appreciate you for coming, and we're going to start with quick intros. I know I've introduced you a bit, but I want you to tell us how you do your storytelling, and you can introduce the organization that you work for and what you do in that space of advocacy and storytelling. So we're going to start with you, Sandra. Thank you.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rachel. My name is Sandra Rakwar. I'm a production designer and a set designer. Currently, I am working under, one of my many jobs is working under Film Fupi as the project coordinator right now for the second cohort, where I'm just instilling knowledge to the others. And then also, I'm also a set designer in Igiza Arts and Friends Next Door. And what I do for my advocacy, I recycle. Most of the things I use on my set are recycled. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you. Thank you for also keeping it short, because we have a very good discussion to have. Thank you. Over to you, Suki.
Afternoon, guys. My name is John Michuki, Suki. Mostly I'm known as Suki. I can say that I'm a storyteller, only that I use makeup as a medium to tell stories. mostly African stories. I'm passionate about African stories. I'm a director at Suki Makeup Africa, which is an outfit company we formed to offer makeup and hair solutions for film and TV productions. I'm also a partner at Film Fupi, which is a partnership between YFP and Suki Makeup Africa, where we impact the youth with skills in filmmaking.
Hi guys, my name is Duncan Muronyo Mungai, award-winning actor. I'm a producer, director and writer. I'm a co-founder for an organization called Amazing Minds Africa. We focus on mental health empowerment in campuses in Kenya and beyond. On top of that, I do produce both theater and TV shows. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vigilance Atieno. I'm a communications person and also a multimedia producer. Basically, what I do is I do create social impact stories. I have a company which I am a co-founder. So within this company, we do films, television shows, reality TV shows, theater productions, and also we do corporate shoots. So basically, it's telling stories geared towards women empowerment, addressing issues on sexual reproductive health rights, addressing issues of domestic violence, and also just highlighting and empowering girls and women. And also just to know that I'm also one of the facilitators in Film Fupi. And under theater shows, we did do an experimental storytelling format where we'd invite audience members, but whereas we just have one performer, we used to sit in circles and let everyone tell their stories. So we did run it for several months. The first edition, we talked about laws. So we had women talking about miscarriage, other people talking about laws of parents and so on. In the second edition, we were able to bring people just to celebrate grandparents. How do you remember your grandparent? And then so on and so on. So we do thematic storytelling, inviting audience and allowing audiences to find healing and find closure, and also just develop their craft by telling stories to other people. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Vigilance. Over to you, Mark.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Mark Miner. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a film director, I'm an editor. My journey began in a computer science class where I was tinkering with After Effects, for those who know After Effects. And eventually I started making films from these effects, shooting myself in the head, crashing a plane in Chiromo, for those who know the University of Nairobi. And eventually I traveled a bit. I went to different industries in Germany, France, and Nigeria. And now I'm back telling our stories because for the last 10 years, I've been trying as much as possible to make sure our stories reach a global platform. And I've been one of the people who also helped bring MTV Sugar, which basically, it tells of our youth realities and educates a lot of youth. And also now the documentary that you've just seen, which is, what happened in the 2024 protests, where the youth are the ones who led the protest. They're the ones who organized, mobilized. So basically the whole documentary is basically centered on where we started from hashtags to the streets. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to start with you, Mark Miner, for the first question. What is the nexus between filmmaking and advocacy? And, where as a filmmaker do you draw the balance when you want to tell a story to go slightly above entertainment and try to address issues? And then when you finish, you can pass over the mic to Vigilance also to give me a comment on that. I will keep changing the questions as we are moving across the panel. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Rachel. So personally, I've made a film. It's called Neophobia, which was the only African film to screen at the Cannes Film Festival in 2017. And it was a very humbling journey because I realized that the world doesn't look for high budget per se. It looks for authenticity. It looks for originality, or rather something that you can only tell in a certain place. So when we talk about how to tell a story that will be global, for me, it's really about telling a story. For example, like myself, if I'm telling a story from Nairobi, I will tell a story that can only be told from Nairobi. Because when it reaches somebody out there, they will be able to see how Nairobi looks, and that gives you that authenticity. And in regards to advocacy, I feel like memory fades away, but film will always, but film will always stay with you. So us as filmmakers, we have the responsibility to be able to make sure that we amplify the positive voices, and we also make sure that those who are suffering are able to be heard as well. Those who are in power are put accountable, and that's basically our role. I feel like as much as maybe we are living in strange times where when you speak up, you can easily be put down, discriminated like we did. Protect yourself, for sure. Protect yourself, but don't let that fear silence you, because at the end of the day, if you talk about an experience that happened last year and it's in your memory, next year you'll not remember it in full detail. But if it is captured with your lens, you will always have it with you. So looking even, I was giving even to Nick, who directed with his joining from Lamu, and I was telling him that we watch a lot of World War II films, and when you watch them, there's that feeling of, wow, these people lived through these times, you know, wow, these people, how did they go by, how did they survive? But I'm telling you, from now, 20, 30 years from now, our grandchildren, the younger generation will be watching what we've done, and they'll be like, wow, these people survived this period, you know? So it's on us to continue amplifying these voices, making sure that we tell these stories as they are at the time, because it's a very delicate period as well.
Very much for those contributions. Before I go to Vigilance, maybe I'll ask Nick to introduce himself. He's from online, and then Vigilance, you can go ahead and respond. Thank you. Oh, okay. Nick, sorry, we're trying to upsound you a bit. All right.
You get me?
Yeah, we can get you. Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Nick Wabugu. I'm a filmmaker, storyteller, director, producer, and a cinematographer. And definitely I'm happy to join this panel from Lamu. I hoped I would have been in Nairobi. And I worked with Mark, co-directed the documentary The People Child. And it's been one of my best projects that I've done, also mainly because it came from deep down our hearts as guys wanting to tell the accurate story of what happened. Of course, it was an anniversary of what happened since last year, but also for us, it was a moment to create history. And as Mark said, I've always watched a lot of films, especially World War I, World War II, all those kind of films from YouTube. And I always tell myself the reason those videos or those films are always vivid is because there were some people around that day or that time that filmed and created and preserved that history. And that was our main agenda in this film, The People Child, the main agenda was me and Mark and the whole team was to create a piece that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, people will watch and not only watch but always learn from it and always progress to the next stage. So yeah, that's me, and yeah, I'm happy to be on this panel. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Nick. And I was asking Vigilance also to respond to the role of filmmakers in being able to balance between the entertainment and the advocacy messaging in the film. And then I'll come back to you, Nick, with another question. Thank you.
I think in terms of the role of filmmakers, I think my take will be this. Film is a very powerful medium of communication. It is a tool that sticks to your mind. What you see, you'd want to become. And that's why for a very long time, the Western nation, they sold us the American dream. So you grew up and saying, I want to go to America, because of how they continually portrayed America to be a land of possibilities, to be a land where if you go, things just work out. And so you started seeing yourself outside your country and seeing yourself in a world where if I go to Disney or if I go to America itself, I'll be able to achieve. My understanding of how to make film as a tool of advocacy was not deeply rooted to a development communication class. There we were able now to get to understand certain stories. And so as a film producer, I became intentional. What stories are you framing? How are you framing your stories to the audience? What are you saying? And even my master's study, even my master's study is my study is based on gender representation and social change in films, and looking at it in the perspective of Kenyan cinema. Which are these narratives that we continually portray to the audience? Are we reinforcing things that we need to get rid of, or are we challenging certain stereotypes that have continually stuck within our audiences? Are we saying women cannot, or are we saying women can? Are we saying family cannot or family can? So even as a filmmaker, regardless of where you are, whether you're a makeup artist, whether you're a producer, an actor, are you working on projects that are able to steer positive conversations, or are we continually working on projects that when people watch, especially people outside our country, will just be like, oh, Washe, oh God, how is Kenya? We need to create projects that steer positive conversation. And when you're talking about positive conversations, we're not saying don't show the crime, but how are you framing that crime? When you're talking about gender development or being intentional about gender conversion, what are you showing? Are you continually the one who is making the women in your film to be powerless? Are you giving them a voice? Are you not giving them a voice? How are you portraying children so that when children are also consuming your content, you're able to steer a generation that is eager, is positive, is getting direction? Are we just making children to be invisible? Or are you giving them visibility? And there's nothing as important as making sure that as you're telling your story, you're creating visibility across all the generations. That's the only way we are able to now make it powerful, and that is how you bring advocacy. Because advocacy is all about change. And so as storytellers, we create change through the narratives and the images that we continually show people. Thank you.
Thank you, Vigilance, for those wonderful points. I hope you're all learning a lot. And now I'll go back to Nick because I know he may need to leave at any time. And Nick, I'm coming to you about the challenges of making such a film, such as the film you just did with Mark, in terms of the logistical challenges and other challenges that surround that, and how you're able to navigate that as a filmmaker. How you're able to navigate that as a filmmaker. Yeah.
Yeah, there are things that came with making the film. Of course, we have the normal challenges, as a filmmaker, just the normal work challenges. But besides that, actually, this kind of film and this kind of story, you have other challenges that, quote unquote, you might not have control over. And these are challenges, because you are speaking about something against what you call a system or something that is not working in our country. So the challenges, of course, especially right now in our region and in Kenya, the biggest challenge would always be being silenced, fear being used as a way to silence, especially journalists and filmmakers and other collective storytellers. And from the beginning, while we were doing this documentary, we pretty much knew that would be a problem at some point and that would be a challenge. But the thing was, while we were working, the thing was,
he'll be able to finish on that. But as I pick up on challenges, maybe I'll come to you, Duncan. And actors face a lot of challenges actually on set. And I've seen a couple of actors actually being able to speak out about some of the challenges they're facing. They're using Twitter and other platforms. One of the things that I've been raising is the issue of the fact that they cannot even pay taxes. They're not actually recognized by government and all these things. How have you been navigating, and how are you able to tell your story as an actor so that you can also be able to reach people? And also, how else are you using like the tool? How are you using like advocacy as an actor yourself with the platform that you have, the following that you have, and all that on social media and all that? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think I'll pick this one first, or rather the last one. And in terms of how using arts, because everyone is an artist in their own way, that's what I believe. But also, it begs the question, what are you passionate about? Just beyond being a makeup artist, beyond being an actor, beyond being an editor, what other social issue are you passionate about? Once you're able to figure that out, I've always found for me, it becomes very easy to use my arts just to advocate for what I want or for what I feel needs to change. For as long as I have that understanding, first I have to have a proper understanding of the issue, because again, you don't want to be ignorant with things. And art being a very powerful medium, it's very possible for you to do things that will bring more harm than what is positive. So I always find it's utterly important for someone to be very vigilant, even with how you approach it. Because art being that powerful, like what Mark was saying, watching movies from the 1920s and such, you still remember or you're able to feel what those people were going through. So imagine if they represented what happened there at that time in a wrong, or rather they didn't get the facts right. Then what is carried forward is something that is distorted information, which is actually worse than even just giving information. So what I do in my space is, when you look at social media and allowing us to go straight to the person who needs that information, that it allows you to sort of bypass, quote unquote, bypass hurdles that are in between, especially if you have someone who has an agenda. They want to use your art, but then they have their own agenda at the end of the day. With social media, you're able to reach people and to speak with them directly, and then the feedback is very authentic. And even when you look at some of the biggest stars we have right now on social media, there are people who have learned how to harness the voice and the power of social media just to be able to reach people. In terms of the challenges that we find, and I think in our country, this has become, we had this discussion not too long ago with a group called KFTPA, and the discussion was around, when you look at the Ministry of Arts, the one that deals with artists and musicians as well, every single administration that comes in, you find that ministry or that subsector of the ministry is switched from one ministry to the next. So whatever work that had been done, for example, if it's under the sports ministry, whatever work has been done, 2 years into it, then that function is pushed to the Ministry of Culture. Now, whatever had been done for 2 years you find you lose everything, and then this kind of disconnect in between, it becomes very hard to effect things, to effect change that people actually want. Because you push for 2 years, then we change, now we have to go speak to another PS, start explaining the whole thing again. In that regard, we lose 2 years of time. And then it's 2 years, now it's 2 years, those are 4. The next year we're thinking about elections, we go into another year, a new administration comes in, they decide, no, okay, fine, we need a ministry that purely deals with the arts, and now you have to change everything again. So some of those challenges, and that's where you find even the frustrations that actors have, especially actors and musicians in Kenya. You speak to people, but then you don't receive feedback. So what do people do? They'll resort to going directly to the employer, is the audience member, because he or she is the one who consumes my art, they're the one who consume the music. So those are the people that I will go to, and then just figuring out how to do it. But then quitting is not an option at the end of the day. Regardless of how things are, giving up is not an option. We have to be there to keep pushing until we find some change at the end of the day.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll come back to you later, because I want to understand, like, with the audiences that you have, that you get from acting, the screen time that you get, and how that can be used to really effect change and push for change in Kenya. Maybe you can be thinking about that. But before we go to Suki, I want to go back to Nick. Nick, can you hear us now? So that you can finish up on the challenges, and then we can release you, and you can tell us your maybe final take out for this. Yeah.
As I was saying, when we were making this documentary, definitely we knew we had challenges, and of course these are the normal challenges as a filmmaker and production challenges of just making a story or a documentary. But for this specific one, one of our biggest challenges, which we knew was a huge challenge, especially in our region, and it's a challenge that we definitely don't have much control over, was the challenge of, being referred as outspoken. And this is a challenge that comes with journalists and filmmakers. And for us, we knew we are kind of treading in, like, I would say, crazy mad area. And the thing about us, I remember while we were making this documentary with Mark, we literally questioned ourselves in the sense of, is there a point making this documentary yet? What's the point, pretty much, of making this documentary? But our biggest motivation and inspiration was change. And us as filmmakers and storytellers, there is more than just making an art piece or just making a story. We do this to create change and to motivate and to all of that kind of stuff. So our biggest challenge was, just to be clear, was literally abduction, getting abducted or being silenced, all those vices that come with that. And as it happened, and I'm a candidate of being quote unquote being arrested, and at some point being abducted, and we for like some 1.5 days, no one knew where we were until we were found in a police station, and and much later we have this case of false publication and all of that. That's the challenge that came. The question was, are we willing to go down? Are we willing to take that bullet and do our story that will have a change later, or we just step back because of that challenge? So it's always a balance of two, but always it comes from a point of consciousness. And for us guys, and me specifically, my conscience was, having traveled to so many countries and seeing many places, I literally felt like us as Kenyans, we were being shortchanged. And for me, the only tools that I could use to educate and to shine that light to people to see how we are being shortchanged was through film. The cost that will come with it, I think for me, I was willing to take that cost, which of course I took that cost, got arrested, kind of got abducted, and today the film is out. I hope it kind of changed and educated people. And that, at the end of the day, I'm out here free, but I'm happy it came out, and I'm happy, like, I definitely know it raised awareness to so many people. Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges as guys we got. Mark was lucky we weren't together that day when we were being abducted, but yeah, it comes with a job. The main thing is, are you willing or are you ready to take that? Because there has to be someone who is definitely who has to take that lead. And for me, filmmaking and journalism and storytelling for me is my number one tool to create change.
Thank you very much, Nick. And we acknowledge all the other documentaries you've done as well with the BBC, creating awareness on different issues. What is the advice you would give to someone who wants to get into documentary filmmaking or to just telling stories about film, the kind of stories you are telling? Nick, did you hear my question? Okay. Oh, I think we lost him. So I'm going to go back to Suki. Let's appreciate Nick. I know he might get lost anytime. And thank you so much for your feedback and for sharing your story with us. I think we're just here as observers listening in and just learning and getting the knowledge from your experiences. For Suki, you're in a very different industry, the makeup industry. And I believe in my life, I've never met somebody who makes makeup look so good like you. You make makeup look meaningful. You make it look like, as a producer, you made me see makeup very differently. Tell us what you believe about the power of makeup and how you're using makeup to change lives, and how that is helping in your storytelling journey, in terms of even like advocacy and all those things. Thank you.
I treat makeup as a medium to tell African stories. So just like any other filmmaker, just like any other artist, I see we have a wonderful Kenyan artist hapo, Jimwat. Big up sana. This makeup for me is like what Jimwat uses. It's a medium to tell stories. So for me, it's not just applying lipstick on Sandra. And I see some ladies here with amazing lipstick. That's not my role. My role is thinking deeper in my responsibility as an African storyteller, and digging deep and thinking, how can I use my makeup to tell a story on post-election violence, for instance? How can I use my makeup application to tell a story on the Gen Zs? How can I use my makeup? You see, so it's deeper than that. It's far more deeper than that. And now what I do as an artist also is thinking about the unemployment rate in our country. We have the working population, which is now the youth, are not so working, are not, kuna jobs. We have 67% of our youth are unemployed, right? So how do I come in as a makeup artist in film to help, push that gap kidogo? How do I do it both as a creative and as a makeup artist, or as a youth myself? I believe I'm one. So how do I do that? So I use, it's much deeper than just taking lipstick and applying on a face, foundation and applying on a face. It's not like how you would tell someone to do your makeup in the morning in your wedding or you're going for an event. It's very different from that. Yeah. What was the other question? Sorry.
No, you've answered the question, at least how you're using makeup.
Yes.
And let's appreciate these wonderful creatives. I think we are seeing the diversity of us as creatives. We saw Jimwat earlier, we saw Myogenic, and now we be listening from this panel, and we can see how diverse, the tools we have for storytelling are. And I'm going to pass it over now to Sandra. Sandra, I know even before you started doing film or getting into film, you were actually in advocacy and you were doing things to do with water and sanitation. So how are you now combining film and your advocacy work? How is that combining together so that it can help you amplify your storytelling?
So how I'm using film right now to continue advocating is basically the platforms we have. TikTok, Instagram right now are a huge platform, especially for creatives. So right now what we're just doing is creating as much content as we can in skits. I've lately been doing theater. This year I've actually done about 4 shows. And in some of them, most of them are just advocating for social justice, family well-being, mental health. So a lot of my work is just advocating. And then also in the sanitation area, most of the things I use for creating my sets are recycled goods. So I recycle so that, you know, we reduce the amount of waste we produce. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, thank you very much for that. I think I'm going to go back to Suki real quick because I'm wondering how do we think about the story? Like, how do we think about the story that we want to tell? Like, let's say you want to tell a story using your makeup. What are the things, the steps you go about thinking about the story that you're going to tell? What are the considerations you have to make sure that you deliver a good story to the audiences? And I'm going to pass that question around real quick just to see from the different perspectives. What do you guys do when you get a story, you've got a story and you need to tell it? What are those considerations you make real quick? Because we want to make sure everybody in this room lives here as a storyteller. So what are those things you've got to think about real quick about telling the story you want to tell?
Okay, I'm just going to ask a question. How many of you guys have watched Woman King, the movie? Woman King. Anyone? Like 10 people. So if I was to do makeup, have you watched it? No? Okay. If I was to do makeup on Woman King and Mark Minor was directing the film, first, I take so much time in researching about what story we are telling. And I always think that I have a responsibility as an African filmmaker to tell our stories in the right possible way, in the best possible way, so that we are not misrepresented, so that we are not, our stories are not twisted, and so that our stories are not told the way an African wouldn't relate. So for me, the first thing is research. I take so much time in research, and I take so much time in speaking to the director and the art director and the actors way before we start shooting, so that we understand each other and so that I'm not doing something that is not in line with what Mark wants to direct and what story he wants to tell. And what he's advocating for in this medium, which is called film. So I'm coming in as a team player to tell his vision, to sort of like take his vision from our conversation and put it into faces, how the faces, and also support his vision in making sure that I give suggestions as to what the faces should look like and as to what I think. So I'm going to tell you a story. Sorry to take so much of your time. So usually when I'm working with, for say, some people who want to come and shoot documentaries in Kenya, there is always a narrative that people want to portray about people living in Kibera or poor people, and that they are dirty and inzi ziko tu kwa uso or something, right? And that's sort of like what we would be expected to do. You as a makeup artist, you would think maybe you're doing a good job by portraying that. So what I think as a makeup artist, I always want to portray the African face to the best possible, in the best possible way. So I take it as a responsibility to do sometimes the opposite of what someone thinks I will do. But most of the times in film, when we're talking about a film set, I'm always with these people. Kina Dan, as an actor, what do you think about your character? In the film that he just did, a boda guy, what hairstyle do you think you should have? And then we come in a conclusion out of our collaboration. Vigilance, what is your color palette for the set? So that I know if I'm applying a red lipstick on one of the actors, maybe it would be against what her color palette is in the film, and it would be sort of like not going in line with our theme for the film. Then the director now tells me, I'm giving you the liberty, create characters for me. So I'm going to do that, but then I have to understand what story he wants to tell. So that's sort of like some of the things that we go through back and forth with different departments in film.
Wow, that was very good. Thank you so much, Suki, for explaining to us how deep this process goes. It's not just a one decision thing, and it takes time and preparation and research to be able, and consultation and collaboration to be able to do this. So next, I'll go to Duncan. First, you can start by answering the question I asked about the visibility you have as an actor and how you're using that. And then you can go to the question I've asked in general of the process you take when you're storytelling as an actor or as a producer. Yeah.
Can I just take this first?
Yeah.
So I'll just add on what Sukia said. When we shot Border Love, the story came with the director, Janet Wells. She's British, and she had her own story in her mind, according to her. But then it was our work, and I felt, again, like you said, my responsibility, because I'm telling the story of a Boda guy, mse wangu Wanduthi, mse wa mtaa, how does he behave? How do I see him speak? There are things we were missing. Initially in the script, there are things that were there, and I felt, no, this won't pass. It feels so far-fetched, such that my Kenyan audience, they will not be able to connect with the authenticity of the story. So it's important. It was important for me for us to understand the story, and then from there bring in my Kenyanness into it to localize the whole story, such that first, locally, people accept it, that they see it, and when they watch it, everyone goes, "Hey, who ni mse wangu wa Nduthi? Who ni mse wangu wa Boda?" Because we all have a mse wa Boda somewhere. So it was important for me to have a conversation with the director and just tell her, and now I feel like this is a bit too much. We need to add this. This does not make sense here. We need to do away with it. So that was really important. And that cuts across even all departments. So once I understood my character and what the director wanted, after understanding the story, and I'm talking about just understand, there's a difference between reading the story and understanding what needs to be told. After understanding the vision of the director, now I work with every single HOD, for example, in makeup, in wardrobe, the cinematographer, even in terms of the lighting, how the lighting is going to be done, understanding cinematography, the lessons that are being used. Then it's a collaborative effort across all departments in film. So when it just starts across the board, even on the ground, you have conversations about, you as a man, what are you going through, man? Like, ni unapitia nini, mashida ni gani, vigilance, mambo inaendeleaje, like how you doing. Like there was already, people knew that. People knew. These guys, when you find them, I bet they're going to ask you mentally how you're doing. So when you make the call after, people easily gravitate towards what you're saying. But for as long as one, you're very authentic, both online and offline. You have to be authentic, and you have to be willing to be authentic to even lose people, such that you attract your tribe. Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah.
Wow. Who's getting motivated here and inspired? Yeah, so you have to be authentic, have a very good brand that can be trusted, so that you can have even to be able to mobilize people. You remember we talked in the morning about being able to mobilize, being able to package a story. Thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. We are almost coming to the end, guys, but I want to push this question to Vigilance and Mark, and I also want you to tell us about how do you think about the story that you want to tell as well? Like, how do you think about it? How do you go through analyzing the story that you want to tell, and then
the process that you take before you tell that story, maybe for all of us. And also you can think about outside film as well. You can maybe touch on it a bit, outside film. Like maybe I'm using my mobile phone or doing a poem, whatever story I'm telling. What's that like thought process of how you come up with that story and what you need to think about? And also Nick raised an important issue about safety. Thinking about your safety also when you're trying to make this story. Maybe both you can also contribute on that.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for that. I think when it comes to my process personally, it starts with our culture. What is it in our culture that stands out, that has not been told, or the next generation needs to know so that they are able to embrace? And could be the culture of respect. How do you define respect in your community? How do you define etiquette, courtesy, the language? Because culture is diverse. It's not just about how people talk the language. It's also about how are the interaction like. When you meet your elderly person, are you just pushing them because now everyone is in a hurry? Or how are you portraying certain level of respect, acknowledging certain level of authority? And so for me it starts with culture, but also I think over time I've been able to evolve and understand that what is it that you really uphold? What is that one thing that you hold dearly in the society that you'd want other people to talk about? Let's say personally, I'm really passionate about women's stories. So apart from film, how are you using your voice to tell stories about women? And it doesn't have to be basically talking about the plight. It's celebrating women. Like the video we did, it was a blend of bringing different generations of women together. So we had a segment of Zippy with her mentee, so that is mentor, mentee. Then we had the small child, the mother, the grandmother. Then we had a person with disability, because we do not include these people. Are they women? Should their voices be heard? So how are we incorporating a diverse group of people so that even when you're celebrating women, I just don't bring women or black women. In Kenya we have Indians. In Kenya we have white people. We have Somalis or Muslims. We have communities in Turkana, Marsabit, Borana. When you're talking about telling our stories or highlighting the success of women's stories, just because I'm in Nairobi doesn't mean I only focus on women in Nairobi. I need to try and create diversity. Diversify your audience. Diversify your participants. So that even a girl in Turkana, when they see the story of a Samburu girl, they'll say, oh, even me, I can. Right now there's a sensational personality per se on TikTok. She's called Fardosa. If you're on TikTok, you've seen her stories being heard. She's just an ordinary woman. Just being randomly, someone is taking her videos randomly, people sending her. She has this weird love of likeness for Mala. So the lady doing some sort of like advocacy there, every time she's interacting with Ferdosa on her videos, they're taking for her Mala, you know. Ferdosa is a representation of an ordinary woman who is being highlighted to the community. So within your community, who is that woman who you might not see them as important, but they're trying to tell something different. They're trying to demystify certain things that we have normalized in society. So you don't have to wait to do story or Wangare Maathai, or we don't have to wait to do the story of Charity Ngilu. We can do the story of that young girl walking 1 kilometer to get education. What does education signify to this girl? You as Rachel, what does education mean to you? What does it mean to empower other young females or even men within the creative space? Why is it important to you to ensure there is sustainability of both men and women? Because even right now, we cannot run away from the fact that we also need to give visibility to the boy child. So how are we creating a balance to ensure that these men are mentally ready for empowered women, and these women are also ready, in as much as they're empowered, also just understanding the hierarchy of the society? So what stories are we telling? If you're on Facebook, let's say you have 4,000 people as your followers, what are you feeding them? If you constantly feed people negative things, we normalize negative energy. And that is why for some time now, it's normal for people to just come to your wall, to start abusing you. There's nothing you've done, you've not offended them, but because probably you're trying to give different direction of thoughts. So people want people who are, tukisema mbwa, kila mtu ndio umbwa, you know. But if you're trying to say, wait a minute, why are you attacking someone and saying umbwa? They're not able to justify. Because if you go to this wall, matusi. If you go, there was a time I think I deactivated my TikTok, my personal TikTok. Because you get on TikTok, women who are older enough to be my mother, ni matusi tu. You cannot even randomly open TikTok in the public space. Because you just open and unasikia tu umbwa. And you're like, what are we using our platforms for? What does social media mean to you? Is it just saying anything to gain traction? Is it because when you're vulgar and you're abusive, you're getting followers, and so you are so consumed by numbers? People are consuming my content. I'm getting views. And so views is in your head. Ukitusiana, huyu anakutusi, una attack back. Is that the kind of generation you want? Is that the kind of narrative you want? So that anytime we can get to certain platforms, it's matusi. Why can't we use our platforms to teach, to unlearn certain things, to relearn certain things? When you look at TikTok, if you're trying to consume Chinese content, it is the do-it-yourself things majorly trending. You'll never come across a Chinese TikTok account that is vulgar or abusive. It's how to make what, using sand, soil, how to plant within your balcony. Why can't we make it different for our audience? Why can't we make it safe? Because how safe are you as the user of the whichever platform you're using? Are you the bully? Apa, you can look very sober, but if someone was to deep search your account, are you the one bullying people with pseudos and stuff like that? What contribution are you making as an individual? What contribution are you making? Which stories? Why can't you be the person who, if you come across vulgar content, why can't you be the person who says, I will not consume this, I will report? If everyone was to report accounts that are extremely vulgar, will they have the attention? No, because they'll be struck down. But if there's a vulgar abuse, you're the quick one to share. You're tagging your friends, come and see. What excitement do we get? So can we be people who change the narration so that we're also using our digital prints not only for our personal memories, but also to make sure that we are trying to change certain narratives. We are trying to build new cultures where I can celebrate my friend and say, Rachel, good job for putting this together. It was a nice day. I met so-and-so. So-and-so is doing X, Y, and Z, and enhancing the narrative of positive stories, celebrating people right from where you are. Don't wait for someone to become a president. Useme, that used to be my childhood buddy. See your friend who is trying to open a shop. Go there, take a picture. Guys, you can come to this shop and buy XYZ. Guys, you can go to Suki's studio. He does amazing makeup. Tagging them. My friend has a foundation. This is what they do within their foundation. And you highlight them. You might not give them 1 million views, but someone somewhere is definitely watching. So let's be people who have positive energy. Let's change certain cultures that we've normalized. And just because you have a social media account doesn't mean it's nothing. Even with 1 follower, you can be able to do something positive and impactful. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Mark?
I think I'll try keep it as short as possible. I'll answer it in 3 ways, or rather the 3 Ys and the 1 H. And I'll answer this wearing the hat of a filmmaker and also a director. So why? That's what I would first of all think about when I'm trying to think of a story. Why am I telling this story? What's the purpose? Now, the main reason we do stories is maybe to entertain, to document history, to preserve memory, to make people laugh, to make a comment on fashion, make a comment on culture. So all those have to come to my mind. Okay, I decide, okay, I want to make, like for example, I'll use the people shall, I want to document history. So I start to look at all the instances where we have good history or even bad history, where maybe something like injustice happened, or maybe where we flourished, where we have a kind of Samuel Wanjiru story who won the world, the gold medal. You know, once you decide, okay, now this is the story, this is what I want to, why I want to tell this story, then that brings me to the what. Now, the what is what's the story. The what is who are the characters. That's why I start thinking about, okay, are these characters authentic? Are these characters people that people can relate with? Are they local or have they gone global? And then once I do that, what is the other W? The who. The who is your audience. Are you targeting a local audience or are you targeting a global audience? And this will really inform your authenticity, as Duncan has mentioned. When you think about, okay, I want to tell a story, Papa Shirandula, of course you know, okay, this one is a bit of a local story, so there's resources that you'll be able to put in that regard. But if you're targeting, let's say you want to tell a story that you want to travel, you want it to go to festivals, that's why now you'll start thinking about other aspects, like, you know, what the budget will be, which other places will we visit, and that basically informs now the how. And the how is, how are you planning to do it? How are you structuring the sequences? How do you want to shoot it? You know, capture it with the lens? Do you want, you know, that's the cinematography part of it. And, you know, a director needs to be involved in all these stages. And basically, once I decide all those, then it's easy for me to be able to communicate to the other crew. Like Suki has mentioned, you know, I'll be able to explain, okay, the makeup for this person, I want it to be authentic because, you know, she's a Pan-African woman, or she is maybe a white lady who is in Africa, so we need to give it this kind of look. So it's easy for me to be able to understand and make them understand as well, because as Quentin Tarantino says, as a director, your work is pretty simple. Your work is just to communicate your vision. But the hard part is you have to understand your vision first, because sometimes you go, like I'll give an example. When I was in Germany, I remember it was my first time doing a science fiction film. And I remember I had not worked with white people before. So the casting agent came to me. She was like, okay, do you want an actor with blue eyes, brown eyes, or green eyes? And I'm like, okay, why does that matter, you know? So for me, it was like now trying to discover why is that a question that, you know, an actor is an actor, you know, as we never think about, okay, Duncan has brown eyes. What does that mean? You know? Or the color of the tie, when you're thinking about production design, the color of the tie. This, do you want a maroon or a red? You know, they are very close, but they have different meanings as well. So these are things that you also have to understand as a filmmaker to be able to communicate this vision to the crew. And lastly, I would just say that it's good to understand the tools, but don't worship them, because people, you know, what camera are you shooting with? Oh my God, that's the best camera, you know. It's good to understand that there are directors who are very good technically, there are directors who are good in terms of story, but you're not limited because you don't understand the microphones that you're using, what design of the camera you're using, what softwares will be used in editing. Like, it's just be as authentic as you can as much as possible, because where you see a film going global, or rather it's doing well overseas in terms of like across the border. It could be as simple as Uganda, the film has won, Tanzania, the film has won. And then you go across the continent, you see a film has won something in Russia or something in France. They are looking for that authentic voice. Are you trying to imitate? Because I feel like in Kenya, we started a lot of imitation. Like many people are doing films that you just feel like they are very Americanized, and we were poisoned, to be honest. And even when I went to Nigeria in Nollywood, I recognized that loudly, because them, you know, as much as they tell witchcraft stories, you know, those kind of stories that are like Oga Afro cinema, or they are authentic because they come from them. And recently I've seen a splash of authenticity in our storytelling, because I felt like we are very good technically, but in terms of story, you know, you just find people are doing crime stories, bank robberies. They are good stories, but you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't feel original or authentic in our aspect. So I feel like it's also good. Even earlier we used to have scripts written in very strict English, and then you'd find somebody from Ocha amekuja ameongea English, but you know, you just feel like he's saying it on the top. It doesn't feel like he's actually communicating. He doesn't feel comfortable saying those words, and that's another challenge for a director, because you have to decide if you're doing a story maybe based on the slums, how do you communicate and it feels authentic? Don't be fearful of subtitles. They are very good, especially outside. So people are able to follow along, yeah? And I'm sure even the Americans who are here, when they were watching Ifike Governor, they were able to follow along with the subtitles and feeling like they're in the story of the world, rather than trying to hear, what are you doing? Come here, you know, just something that is very plastic, yeah? So thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that has been amazing. And I'll give you each 30 seconds to tell us what you're working on. And as you do that, I hope at the heart of it, you can also tell us what role does the community where you're from or where you're making this story play in your storytelling. And I'll give each one of you 30 seconds to do that, because we have to go to the audience to pick questions, kindly. So Vigilance, if you take your 30 seconds.
30 seconds,
all right.
yes. So currently we are working on a one-woman show, which will be happening on 13th September at Catholic University. If you want to laugh, if you want to explore love and understand the dynamics of love in your 40s, you're invited. In regards to the community we are coming from, I think people are really yearning for authentic storytelling. When we did Otis Janam and we were in Rosinga for 15 days, we really understood why it's necessary to tell stories in your language, because the more you tell it in your language, the better it becomes. Even money increases. Mtu asikwambia vernacular films do not have money. That is where money is at. So thank you, and I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate Vigilance. We're going to do questions. Yes.
Okay, counting. So
yeah.
Currently, I'm working on 3 feature films. I have a story regarding Samuel Wanjiru, as I've mentioned, the first gold medalist. And I feel like we should do stories more like this, because that's what celebrates Kenya, and we that's what we are known for. And it's weird that we have not done anything to that magnitude. I'm also doing a story based on Mchele. I think you know Mchele. If you've not heard Mchele, it's called scopolamine, or the devil's breath. It's a drug that you're given that basically you're hypnotized by it. And there are very many Mchele ladies, or I think you've heard of that, that kind of thing, where it started, who started it. And lastly, I have a story on the Garissa attack, because I also feel it's good to preserve memory for those who survived. And it's something we are working on with a group of other filmmakers. Thanks.
Thank you. Duncan, thank you very much. Let's appreciate Mark. Okay.
So as he pulls that out, What was the question? What am I working on?
Yeah, what you're working on.
Okay.
And you can also say what role the community plays in the work that you do.
The community?
Yeah.
I feel like as a filmmaker, we are a village, and we are supporting each other. The Kenyan filmmaking industry is a very small one. I don't think we are 40 years old, so that's a very small industry, young. So we are supporting each other to become better at what each of us does. I just finished a series called The Agency. If anyone has watched The Agency, it's a UK production. So I'm waiting for the premiere in December. And at the moment, I'm just working along Sandra and Rachel and Vigilance and Mark and all our amazing students at Film Fupi, and we're just trying to impact them and hopefully in the next 2-3 months introduce them to the film industry, to the Kenyan film industry, so that they can start their career.
Thank you very much, Suki. Let's appreciate Suki. And finally, Sandra.
Currently, I can say I have a few projects. One for advocacy about Makongeni, then the other projects are mainly theater. I have a show in November and also a couple of shows in November, actually. And then what community plays in my role for advocacy, I would say what I'm advocating for right now is for art to be seen as an actual career, because most people, when you tell them you're doing art, they're like, what is your main career? So yeah, I want because most of my community is artists, so I am advocating for art to be a career so that people can actually be proud of what they're doing. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you. Okay, Duncan?
Yeah, so in terms of community, I'm very passionate about The Boy Child. We're working on content around men, as well as a podcast and content around that as well. But beyond that, I do theater productions. And in this December, I'm hoping we'll be able to get to see that. I do, like what he's saying, just before that plays, I'm very passionate about authentic content in terms of whether it's theater or it's movies. And like she said, there's a lot of money in vernacular shows. There's a lot of money there. And if you can be able to get into that space, please do, because no person can tell your story as best as you can, even if they bring however humongous amounts of money. So please embrace it. Usiogope. Tell your story in whatever language you're comfortable in. Yeah, this is coming out in December, later this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think when I'm on the town, I had a possibility to organize interview.
Oh,
thank you.
Or maybe as we fix the sound for that. Okay. Can start. Okay. Thank you. Let's appreciate panel, but before they finish, I just want to take the mic to the floor for at least 3 people to engage with what you've heard the panel and react. And please, thank you so much. I'll pass the mic real quick. I'll start here and then I'll come to the back.
So thank you so much, our panelists. You've all had very great, wonderful, and commendable presentations, and I appreciate all your work. So I just have 2 points, which are recommendations, really. So to Suki, I long for the day that you will also be incorporating mental health work in your arts, because it's something we call hypnotherapy, which is the use of color vibrations and color symbolism to bring healing, especially for people who are suffering from neurosis, which of course is like a present kind of emotional and psychological or trauma. And then filmmakers, I also look forward to the day that we shall collaborate with historians and researchers so that we can now start telling the stories from the foundational levels. Because for us to diagnose whatever is ailing our society, we have to look at it from like the pre-colonial setup into colonialism and post-colonialism. Because like now what we're grappling with about taxation, it's something that was embedded in our colonial systems, whereby people were forced into labor, and then there was compulsory taxation, and they were even victimized and brutalized by the colonial government if they were found unemployed, because they had a responsibility to pay taxes whether they are employed or not. So it has continued to transmutate into what we're having in the present government, where we're being victimized as the youth for opposing harsh taxation systems. Yeah, so, and of course with the help of libraries that store colonial items, like the Mamlaka Library in CBD town, I'm sure we can get hold of all those, all that information and try and look for, artistic ways of incorporating that into our films. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you so much for that. Could I see you later for you to just give me an insight on that? She just reminded me of something. This is just so that we highlight the role of just being an artist in our society. 10 years ago, I did a project on vitiligo. Vitiligo is a condition. I don't know if anyone, it's a skin condition, right? So 0.1 of the world's population has that condition. In our current government, there is free sunscreen for people with vitiligo, just like albinism. Now, not so many people knew that you can easily go to the government and say, niaje, sunscreen yangu hii mwezi, uchukue. Not so many people knew that. But I didn't even know that. But out of doing that project and maybe just creating awareness around that condition, we later realized that it's much bigger than that. There's someone in government who's probably eating sunscreen money, right? So it's insane what you can do with just the talent that you have or the craft that you have for greater good, right? So thank you so much for that.
Hi, I'm Judy, and I really love everything that you guys are doing, and I'm so much happy seeing a clip from Vigilance, where there's an inclusion, and I love the part that I just saw one of us, and I was so happy on the part that you're doing the inclusion, and I will also urge everyone to at least put on the inclusion part of the persons with disability in your film, because there's another lady also who talked about it. You take somebody who has their leg and then pretend that they don't have the limb, and yet we have amputees, so many who are capable of acting. And also thank you, Nick, for the good job that you're doing. There's one thing that we talked about Makoure, and everyone was on the part of he drift from whatever what people needed, but as a person who also is in the political area, I found that we can have more and more young people to also get into that politics, because especially in the specific party that he went, he needs more and more youths into it who can come out and also speak for the people. And the only thing that we can do for those who are not in politics is to be the watchdog into telling him and reminding him that this is what you're supposed to be doing in that political party, and not condemn him for getting into a political party. Because all that we know that all these, the rules and the laws and everything are being amended in the political parties in the parliament, and we need more and more youths into that space so that our voices can keep on being amplified and also being heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so much proud of our filmmakers, producers, and etc. And I'm very glad that today I'm meeting one-on-one with you guys. And I'm proud of what you've produced so far. But I'm so much keen to know about like which kind of stories do, as Kenyans, is always success. Like a story which if you produce, it resonates with our culture. Challenged to know about the challenges as filmmakers which you go through to identify like being arrested, being abducted, etc. You have seen in the media world where journalists are now leaving the newsroom because of the social media, the convergence, you know, the podcast. But now, what about your side, your sector? For somebody who wants to get into the film industry, what are you prepared with? Because like what you're facing now in the media, there was no theory to tell us that, fine, in the next 10 years, we'll be having the social media. So probably maybe you could be telling us, maybe like, fine, we are prepared for this kind of, you know, situation. The last one is about authenticity, which you've mentioned, and I really love that one, actually. But what comes in your mind when a foreign filmmaker comes from America, and he wants to portray Kibra as the most place which is has a lot of poverty, you know, and you are one of the producers, and now within his mind or within his dream, he wants to showcase to the world that Kibera is so poor, but in your mind, Kibera is not that very poor. Your people are very educated and etc. How do you evaluate authenticity in such kind of situation? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions. I think the first question was about which stories are selling. I think authentic stories, however you want to define authenticity, could be stories about culture, could be stories about heroism, could be stories about the future. Is it authentic to you, first of all? In terms of challenges, let me speak for me as Vigilance. I think the biggest challenge in the industry is we still are not embracing collaboration. We still want to gatekeep. So you find people are not opening up to work with certain people because they believe in their circle, so they want to keep it within their circle. So that mentality of let's gatekeep. If there is an international project coming together, wanafinia, you get to know it later after it's been done. But anyway, you can't change certain cultures. If that is how someone got into the industry, that is what they'll continue to practice, and they'll normalize it. But that is the biggest challenge. In terms of funding, I think nowadays it's better because corporates are opening up to collaborate with creatives. So it's how best are you able to convince them. Like I can say for me, we've been able to have Diamond Trust Bank funding some of our projects. Right now we have Asconi Winery coming on board for our projects. So I think it's how are you branding yourself as a creative to with which whoever is giving you the money, the investors, and how are you making them see value. It's not about you. It's about what value are they going to get when they inject whichever amount of capital to you. The last question, I think in terms of this digital time, you have to be on your toes. Usisema ti TikTok ni mbaya. If TikTok is what is currently working, figure it out and see how to work with it. If right now they're saying AI is going to be very massive, what are you doing to prepare yourself as a creative to be able to incorporate AI into your work? The fear that AI will replace the job place, it's not entirely true. It's just how are you preparing yourself to be able to know how will I incorporate? I'm an editor. How can I use AI to make my work better? How can I use AI as a writer without overly relying on it? Because currently the challenge is, in terms of the scholarly world, you find people are just going to AI, generate by paper, but now if it comes to tell someone, can you defend your work? They have no idea what AI generated for them. So there's that disconnect. So let's embrace ethical use of AI to help it boost our work. But we cannot run away from technology. We cannot run away from AI. Other additional technologies which we do not even know are still going to come up. Just be flexible enough and say, I might not be in this Gen Z or Gen Alpha generation, but I can challenge myself to learn, incorporate it into my various work. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to add something. First of all, there's a question you had about if a producer comes from outside and they want to tell a certain story about Kibra and how it is. Again, it all goes back to funding. Sometimes the one who, what's that saying? Ule ambaye ako na mfuko ya pesa ndio anafanya nini? There's a saying. Yes, calls the shots. So if we would get to a level where you have some bargaining power, and bargaining power would come from actually finances, then it's possible for you to stand your ground as a local producer and say, this does not make sense, or I'm not going to be part of this. But then most times you find, most people, and they don't have that luxury. Yeah, money comes in, people will jump in, and which is fine. It's unfortunate, but what else can you do? Two, about AI, and I've seen this discussion go on for a long time. Think about AI as a tool. Think about it as, if you go on YouTube today and you search for people who have made films using AI, you can be able to tell a film that was made by AI, but the person who used AI is a professional cinematographer and just anyone else. Because even, for example, if you use Journey as a tool and you want to tell it how the camera movement, how it needs to move, someone who's been in the industry for a period of time like Mark is going to be able to tell it exactly what he wants, the movement, the kind of movement he wants. Does he want a pan? Is it a zoom in? Is it, like all these things? But just someone who has not been in the industry will just say, I need this camera I need to see someone. When you look at those two things, there's a very big difference. So like she's saying, AI can be used by anyone, but then also the skill that you have in your field, because it needs to serve you in your field, there's a very big difference, and you can be able to see it even in the quality of work. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think there was one last question. I think we'll take, you can note the question.
One, two.
Okay, it's not a question, really, just a comment. Vigilance, thanks for the invite. Vigilance is my schoolmate at Daystar. I think you guys are doing a great job, and maybe you can invite the whole team to come and do a collaboration with our communication department. I can talk to Professor Rodi and Obonyo, maybe next semester. Thank you.
I had a question as I'm passing the microphone. I passed through theater, and one conversation that we're having is tradition versus modernity. And they say we are in this mess because of that. They never linked up. We forgot our tradition. So can we bring it back?
Okay. Thank you. I'm inspired by the work of the panelists, and Mine is just to about I had someone mention about the authenticity and originality of the work of the film we are doing. So I understand that we are growing rapidly in modernization, and how can we leverage the modernization with the practice and customs that we used to have way back as Africans, because that is part of the originality. Now, as you have talked of AI is something that is coming up. And what is your take when someone uses an AI tool to write a script? Does it bring the authenticity you have said, or it is something different? Thank you.
First of all, give yourself a pat on the back for listening in and really giving very good contributions. Thank you very much to our audiences. We appreciate you, and just for being in this room with all these amazing people, all these amazing ideas. I'm so grateful to be part of this room with brilliant minds. And now we go back so that you can answer real quick, and then we can close the panel. Thank you.
I just want to take the question of how we can drive modality and interaction. I think what we need essentially is research, and a lot of it into, as she said, we need to go to the pre-colonial time and see what worked, what didn't work, come to the colonial times and actually see where did we go wrong? What is not working for us as a community as a whole in Kenya? What do we need to leave out? Because some of the things we're not talking about because of some you won't talk about, especially let me give an example of sex education. We're not talking about it because anytime it's raised, it's no. Most of the time it's the church which is saying, no, we don't need to teach people that. So we need a lot of research to learn what can we take from the past, what can we apply from the past, how can we heal from our past so that we can move forward as a whole community? Because there's a lot of topics we're not talking about. There's a lot of topics we are not yet ready to open up about because we do not have enough information about what really happened during that time, or how we can come back from whatever happened. So I can say how we can get rid of that problem is a lot of research and a lot of open-mindedness in whatever we find when we go to the research. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Thank you, Sandra.
Just to add on what Sandra, that modernity and tradition, I feel like we can use technology to bridge that gap, because right now, in the old days we had elders tell us stories under a tree. Right now people are seeing the stories on the screens and on Netflix, and I feel like we can easily tell those stories in the same way, but using technology. I've seen it happen even with animation, where people are still using animation to tell stories about a Mogumo tree and stuff like that. So we should not see them as opposites rather than as blend. So we find a balance to blend them. And also using language. We can easily infuse Sheng or even our local languages with the tools, the new tools that we have, example like AI. Yeah, so I think that's one way or several ways we can try bridge that gap.
Yeah, then there's a question about how authentic does work become if you use AI tools. And when you use something like charts, it tells you there at the bottom, chart can make mistakes, confirm important information. And that important information could be things like maybe the names of the names of trees, the names of tables in that local language. So it's also important. It doesn't take away anything for as long as someone does their due diligence to understand and make it as authentic as possible. Again, AI, just take it as a tool. It's just a tool to help. And my final thing is, if you want to understand how powerful film is, going back to the colonial times, go read about something called Beke, B-E-K-E. Stands for Bantu Education Kinema experiment, Kinema for cinema. That was used powerfully to that decade, EKE, just to understand how film was used to brainwash ancestors into some of the things that we lost, things that we're doing now.
And to finalize the conversation is to archives of video, you can archive in terms of writing, because ideally speaking, the way our grandmothers used to make the meals, very nutritious, delicious, no spices, mingi, we don't even have them. So in the next 10 years, we will be part of the history we are talking about today. So how are we archiving some of our family traditions? How are we archiving those recipes, these stories, the stories about Gen Z, the story about whatever is happening right now? In the next 10 years, we'll be part of history. Unfortunately, also, if you die, you're part of history. So how are we documenting these stories, not only for ourselves, but for future many generations to come? So let's embrace the culture of archiving, documenting, write your story, use your social media. When you achieve something, highlight it, document it there. It might not be for you, but in the next 10 years or even 5 years, when your child or your niece, your nephew, your neighbor, your friends read about it, they'll be like, oh, wow, this was such a good thing. Sawa sawa. Thank you.
So one thing I wanted to asked about terms of safety for us as filmmakers, and I'll give you an example like what we went through in this film, and I learned a lot. For example, let's say the DCI come to your house and they want to quote unquote abduct you or arrest you. You can refuse to open the door, and that's by law. If they break it down, that's a different thing. They're broken. Yeah. And you also have to have your lawyer present there. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that as a filmmaker, try to learn the laws that protect you as well. Try to understand the Constitution. You can even use AI. Just throw in the Constitution of Kenya into the AI, ask it, as a filmmaker, what protects me, yeah, and you can easily just protect yourself by learning those things, because that's how you also use this civic education to other filmmakers, pass it on, and you don't have to go through it so that you know about it. Yeah, thanks.
Isn't it amazing how you can use AI, as he said, as a tool, as a filmmaker, to get some information that in our time ilikuwa inabidi tuende kwa ofisi fulani, because we just didn't have access to when we were starting out. So I just want to changia on our traditions. So Mark has been to Nigeria and he's worked there. And one thing about Nigerians, they are very confident about telling their stories. Even if it takes them telling a story on witchcraft. We might laugh at those stories when we watch them, because there is no way mtu anaweza disappear kwa ukuta. Sindio, for instance. Because we've all watched that. Now, what those guys are doing is that they are really telling their own stories. And what Hollywood knows as an authentic African story is they use Nigeria as a point of reference. Why? Because we as Kenyans are not confident enough to tell our own stories. Wangwa Makeri, Luanda Magere, all those stories that we know and we read of in our history books. We don't tell those stories yet. When we watch Woman King, we are the first people to say that person doesn't sound African enough. So isn't it weird that we are not taking that responsibility as African filmmakers to really tell these stories? And even if we were to tell a story on witchcraft, in our culture, the Kikuyu, we have Morogi and Moragori na Modomogo. You see, there are some millennials here. So all these people, all these three people serve different purposes. So there is a positive connotation to some of this. So it's the negative side of our tradition that we can feel, oh, I won't tell a story on witchcraft. You can tell a story on Modomogo, who's like a healer, or, you know. So we need to work more in telling our African stories. And the reality of things is that who thinks Hollywood is sort of like running out of stories? Who thinks? Like, we are watching the same things all the time, right? So then if they say that Africa is the next frontier, the next frontier, like is Africa in the next 10, 20 years, then this is a time to really start telling these stories, really be confident about it, really invest in it, and take time to even go back and research and fuse what we are calling AI and our tradition and in our scripts and tuende mbele. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Just one.
30 seconds because
Yes.
I wanted to give him 30 seconds to say
Just one.
something. Yeah.
It would be very nice to think that the Nigerians and the way they tell their stories is not good. And here's why. You look at even AI platforms, something like 11 Labs that you use to generate voices. If you tell it African, it gives you a Nigerian accent. An AI tool gives you a Nigerian accent as the standard, the African voice.
Wow.
So please be bold in telling your story in the way we speak. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this panel was amazing. Before I release you guys, I just wanted to call Jim a little bit to just tell us what he's doing on mental health, and then we'll release you all together. And you can just use a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, hi guys. Good work on the panelists. I've learned a lot, and especially the bit about authenticity. That one I'm in agreement with it, because like we started our genge music by telling our hip hop stories in our own language. So we took from Kalamashaka, how they made Sheng on the higher platform. We took it a notch higher and made even like the current artists like the Genge, they borrowed from us and they keeping it going. Yeah, so like the work we're doing with mental health, like for myself personally, I was an addict. I'm currently sober now 11 years, and thank you. We usually have meetings at City Park. If you guys know City Park, they're at Parklands. We usually have Alcoholics Anonymous meetings for recovering addicts, because even when you're sober like 11 years, or even like I'm going 12 years, you can still have those effects of the addiction at the back of your mind. So we encourage all the guys who are going through addiction, we can meet there regularly. And also with the myogenic team, like we were doing with my brother Solomon over there, we like to teach artists and creatives, they can do their entertainment on a sober level. Because for artists, they usually go through a phase of peer pressure when you have to have a substance that maybe gives you the courage to go face like coming here and talking to you guys. Maybe there's someone who's very young, they're very naive, so they go and use something like tunasemanga ka kutoa lock. They drink a little bit to have that courage. And what happens, a habit becomes a disease. So when you start with a small bit, your body has a tolerance level. By the time you are 10 years in the game, you're already addicted to that substance and you can't perform with it. So we like to advocate for sober entertainment and sober content. So you guys are all sober, it's very nice. Like I said before, si venye unapewa maji, ni venye unapewa dawa. Shukran.
Story of the amazing work you're doing, even your political story and other stories. So let's use even the break we're going to have, and I'll ask the panel not to leave first so that people can network, meet the historians in the room, meet the other people in the room, so that we can exchange ideas and see how we can tell our stories better. With that, I hand over the mic back to Dwayne. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Rachel. Thank the panelists. Another round of applause, please. Amazing work. And thank you for sharing all your gifts and talents with us. So we're wrapping up for the day. Thank you all for being here, for being so engaged. Tomorrow there is a part 2. We're going to hear from our colleague Zion, and we'll be talking about activism across the continent and also talking about strategies for activism as well. We will be doing some visioning about what you want to see. We want to also have a better understanding of what the assets are in your community to help build support for you. So it's going to be a very participatory day, and we'll have another panel discussion on art and activism as well. So we hope you all come back. We thank you for being here today. I want to pass it to Amara for our final words.
Wakenya mpo. Everybody, this has been so amazing. This is just the beginning, and I'm really happy and proud to see everybody who's come today, both in person and online. Tomorrow, we're going to begin the program by 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. We'll be networking and having a little bit of refreshments. And then from there, we'll begin the session. Tomorrow's agenda, it will be diving deep into civic leadership and activism. We have two of our amazing speakers here in person who are going to be our panelists tomorrow when it comes to the art of dialogue. And we have Judy Oyo, who is amazing. Wave to the crowd.